and spring is coming tomorrow, they say. But anyway, we got whomped with a blizzard last week, and my back's still sore from digging it out. Anyway, I'm excited to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. So again, we're Invest One Properties. What we've been doing is helping people achieve financial freedom, income replacement through conservative real estate investing. We've been doing this since 2008. And here's just a little bit about who we are. Been doing it for 13 years. I personally have been a real estate investor for, I guess, more than 19 years now. We've done well over 900. I think we're over 1,000 residential and commercial investment property transactions. Basically, to tell you a little bit about how I got here. So I graduated from law school, 94. Didn't really enjoy that a whole lot. Decided to get into mortgage banking instead. So I got into mortgage banking, worked in that for a while, opened my own company, sold it, opened another one. And what happened is, and you'll probably all appreciate this, back in 2006, 2007, started to get a lot of people calling us saying, hey, want to refinance. I know my home's gone up in value. I'd like to pay off all my credit card debt, maybe get some cash out, and lower my monthly payment. You know, the same thing people are doing right now. You know, I'd like to do that. It all works well, right? So we do a refinance. Then these people will come back to us 6 or 7 months later. Again, remember, this is 2006, 2007. People will come back to us about, oh gosh, 6 or 7 months later. Hey, I'd like to do that again. And I'd be like, wait, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we just refinanced you 6 or 7 months ago, paid off of your credit cards, got you some cash out, lowered your payment. What do you need cash out for again? And then be like, well, gosh, you know, we've run up our credit cards a little bit more. We've got all these other things going, and we need to refinance again. So we'd be like, okay, well, then those people started coming around again, another 6 or 7 months later. And all of a sudden we started to see a pattern where people were using their homes to subsidize their lifestyle, which, by the way, just as a quick interruption here, if everybody could put their mics on mute, that would help me tremendously, just because I catch a lot of echoes while I'm talking here. So if you all wouldn't mind doing that, just put your mics on mute. That would be very helpful for me. So thank you for that. But long story short, we started worrying because what happened is people would say, we want to refinance again. And then all of a sudden our appraisers started saying, hey, Travis, we can't get value. These homes aren't going up forever, you know, 5, 10% every 6 months like they were. I can't get the value that we need to refinance and pull that cash out. So I'd tell these folks, hey, we can't refinance you. And then they would freak out. They'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I've ran up my credit cards. I was counting on that money to subsidize my lifestyle. Okay, well, imagine, you know, in 2007, we're getting a couple of those phone calls a week. And literally within 4 or 5 months, we're getting 20, 30, 50 phone calls a week just like that. People wanted to refinance over and over. We can't get value. All of a sudden, I saw, oh my gosh, we're going to have some issues here. Now, I'd be lying if I told you I saw the opportunity in 2008 that happened. I thought home prices were going to probably pull back a little bit. Maybe there would be an opportunity to invest in real estate and maybe buy some investment properties affordably, maybe a little bit below market. Maybe they'd go down 5 or 10%. So I did not see properties going down 30%, 40%, 50% or anything like that. But what happened is I started buying and investing in properties here in the Denver area, put together some partners. We started buying lots and lots of properties very affordably. And all of a sudden I found I was spending all my time in the real estate business rather than the mortgage business. I had lots of clients saying, hey, while you're out there finding properties for yourself and your partners, if you see any for me, I'd be happy to pay you for that. So long story short, within 6 months, this is probably in 2008, my business became Invest One Properties, where all I was doing was sourcing properties for people, helping them build portfolios of investment properties, or buy and hold properties, as they call them. And all of a sudden you blink, fast forward, here we are 13 years later. I've done well over 1,000, and we build portfolios for people, turnkey investment properties. So basically That's how I got from where I was to where I am today. I was not a real estate investor, didn't know a lot about it, learned a lot over the years, made a lot of mistakes. So hopefully today, what I'm going to do is walk you through what we do and how that all works, and then hopefully you can kind of learn from us a little bit and see if you want to if this is something that makes sense for you. Now, just to give you an idea of the power of this, I talk to people all the time. They come to me, and some people say, hey, we're doing great. All right, we're doing great. All we want to do is add a few investment properties. And I say, great, this is easy enough. We can help you with that. But we also have a lot of people that come to us and say, hey, Travis, I've been working a long time. I'm 50 years old, maybe 50, 55. And we thought we had a plan for retirement, kind of got blown out of the water, maybe with the stuff that happened in 2008, the downturn, maybe even in the last year with coronavirus. And they say, hey, we don't have a whole lot of retirement built up. We're a little bit nervous now. We're going to get Social Security. We don't have a whole lot beyond that. We've got a little bit of money that we can invest, but we need to figure out how we're going to make it through retirement for the next 30 years. Or some people are saying, hey, we need to do some income replacement. How are we going to be able to replace that income I've been making, which I don't expect to be making? How can I do that? And we've got some pretty powerful tools for that. I tell everybody, hey, here's a couple of things you got to remember. And, I'm not Mr. Motivational Speaker, but I tell everybody this. The past does not equal the future, okay? I don't know where you've been, but we can do better in the future. There are opportunities out there, particularly in real estate right now. I'm going to walk you through some of these opportunities over this next hour here. But here's a really good example of what you can do. And I tell people all the time, let's say you had 150, 160 grand to put towards retirement. Doesn't sound like much. People are like, oh my gosh, it's not very much. And I walk them through this scenario right here. What if you were to invest that in the stock market? Stock market grows 9% per year for 6 years. You're going to have about 245 grand at the end of 6 years. And any of you that have Googled this or researched, hey, how much should I be withdrawing every year once I hit retirement? The number, this is the number that's been around for about 15 years now. Most advisors say, hey, don't withdraw more than 4% of the principal if you want to make sure you outlive your money and don't come up short. All right, well, let's take this example here. You had 160 grand, it grew to 245,000. Now you're going to take 4% per year out of that. That's only $9,800 a year, or $816 a month. I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't really move the retirement needle for me. I mean, hey, I'll take it. $816 a month is $816 more than I would have. So I'm okay with that. But that doesn't really get me where I want to be during retirement. But what I'm going to show you, especially at the end of this webinar, is how you can take that same 160 grand and invest it in real estate for the same amount of time for 6 years. And we'll show you how you can take that and generate $39,000 per year in safe, secure, and predictable income instead. So I'm talking about investing that same amount of money, and rather than giving you a stream of income of about 10 grand a year, we're going to try to juice that up and get that up to 40 grand a year. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no nonsense. You don't have to believe me, but we do this with clients all the time. I work with tons and tons of clients. Like I said, we've done over 1,000 transactions just in the last few years. It works. I'm going to show you how it works. Anyway, again, this is a retirement plan on steroids, or income replacement plan on steroids. Again, past does not equal the future. Now, before we get to that, I know you're all here and you've already been sold a little bit on real estate, or else you wouldn't be sitting through some of these powerful speakers that are going to be talking about real estate both today and tomorrow. But again, here are just some basic reasons why real estate makes sense. You probably already know the bulk of these, like the power of leveraging your money. But two I want to focus on are, first of all, we're going to focus on the difference between real estate and stocks. And then secondly, we're going to focus on the low vacancy rates. Now, when I'm talking about the differences between real estate and stocks, what I'm saying is this, okay? Real estate's kind of boring, slow, and steady, right? That's just how it goes. Get rich slow, if you will. Where stocks, you never know, can be up, can be down. And what I mean by that is, look at this little chart I've put together of major stock market declines since 1970. These numbers, the S&P 500 down, these are all down markets, 50% down, 25%, most recently, and I'm sure all of you felt the pain of this if you were invested in the stock market. Look down there at the bottom, highlighted in red, between February 19th last year and March 23rd last year. So almost exactly a year ago today, market declined 34%. And people say, but wait, Travis, I know it declined, but man, the stock market was up the rest of the year. I read in the Wall Street Journal at the end of the year, they said the Dow Jones was up 40% from the low. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. That's great. But here's the problem people forget is everybody says, well, if it was down 34%, but then it was up 40% the rest of the year, how come I don't have more money in my account at the end of the year? Why is it still less than when I started the beginning of 2020? And then I have to explain, okay, think about how it works. Let's say you had $100,000 in the market, but you lost 34%. Well, now you don't have $100,000. You're down to $66,000. So a lot of people think if the market goes down 34%, it only has to go up 34% for you to get back to break even. But because you have so much less money working for you, that's not the case. So if you look at some of these numbers here, particularly in red at the bottom, the market goes down 34% and you had 100 grand, it has to go up 52% for you to get back to break even. And this is because of the ups and downs of the market. You've got less money working for you. Well, typically you don't have to deal with that with real estate. Again, real estate is slow and steady, but it's much more predictable. You've got your steady monthly cash flows from the tenants paying rent. So just want to point that out. A lot of people don't understand how this works with the stock market, but you've got a lot of volatility. A lot of people come to us and say, hey, I can't deal with the volatility of the market. It's running up really well right now. We're at an all-time high or close to it, but it's hard for me to believe that this market's going to continue on a full trajectory where it only goes up. Because we all know if it goes up, it can go down, right? All right, so let's back up for a second. That's one reason why I like real estate compared to stocks, or at least part of it. Of course, I'm not saying divest your money from stocks, but maybe you peel off a little and put it into real estate. The other key that you have to think about if you either are a landlord or you're thinking of becoming a landlord and owning investment properties are vacancy rates. And they're tied hand in hand with inventory shortages. But vacancy rates are the lowest they've been in the last 20 years. And you'll probably get a kick out of this little Barron's front page. Okay, I don't know if you can read that because it's kind of blurry because it's kind of old now, but it's kind of funny. I started doing these webinars back in 2008. This is something I used in 2010. So the date on this is July 26th of 2010. So what is that? Almost 11 years ago now. It says renter nation, the housing bust and tougher mortgage standards. U.S. will become a renter nation. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to tell you this, but the U.S. has been a renter nation now for 10 or 12 years. And you look out on the horizon, it's not changing, okay? This is going to continue for a long time. Hey, if you guys would put your mics on mute, very helpful, please. Put your mics on mute, please. Let's talk about real estate facts now. I talk to people, they're like, hey, I get it. You like real estate, renter nation, all that kind of stuff. And I say, here are a few more facts you've got to be thinking about if you're considering investing in real estate. And a lot of you may already know this, but these are key things you've got to know here. Let's talk about 2008. It's very simple. Here's what I tell people. How many folks have you ever talked to that said, doggone it, I wish I wouldn't have bought any of those properties I bought back in 2008? None, right? None. Okay, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have bought everything in sight back in 2008. Okay, and here's what I tell people. True, true, true. We all do. Those days are gone. That was 12, 13 years ago. But opportunities still exist, all right? They exist today. I'm going to walk you through that. But here's some other things to keep in mind when you're thinking about whether or not you do actually want to invest in real estate. New household formation is off the charts. There are now more millennials alive than there are boomers who are alive. And what comes with those millennials? Tons and tons of new household formation, whether they were with their parents during the pandemic, or maybe they were just about to start a family, get married, but they've been living in an apartment. They're going to need a place to live. That means lots of new homes and lots of new renters. In addition to that, you've got land and building costs going way up. rents are continuing to increase, and they're increasing big time, 8, 9, 10% per year. A couple of other things to keep in mind. And I don't know if you've heard the story, you can Google this. Demographics suggest we're going to have between now and 2030, a 10 million home shortage based on the current pace of construction. Basically, what it means is this. Everybody thought the boomers, there was going to be this silver tsunami that people talk about. All the boomers were going to sell their houses and downsize, except they didn't. None of them did because they couldn't, because prices rose up so fast. If you sell your home now, where are you going to move down to? All of them want to age in place. And particularly now after coronavirus, they don't want to move in assisted living. None of their kids want to put them in there. They're aging in place. So that's taken a lot of inventory out of the market. On top of that, builders built at a very slow pace because they couldn't get loans after they all collapsed in 2008. Long story short, 10 million home shortage between now and 2030. That's how long they think it's going to take for builders to catch up, between that happening and sales from boomers to finally hit equilibrium between buyers and sellers. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about building your portfolios. Lastly, and this is key, over the last 5 years now, 87% of all new home and multifamily construction has been focused on Class A or luxury housing units. And whether these are new apartments, multifamily, new homes, it's all geared because of the cost of land, cost of labor, cost of materials, geared towards A or A plus borrowers. There's an extreme shortage of affordable housing. And when I say affordable, I don't mean government housing. I mean non-luxury housing. So we're talking good, solid, B quality homes, okay? These are things you have to keep in mind. And then against that backdrop, keep this in mind as well. I know most of you who are listening are from the West Coast, maybe from Seattle area, maybe San Francisco, LA, San Diego. I picked this market just to illustrate for you what we're seeing in these markets and why you need to start thinking outside of your own backyard. Look at the run-ups. Now, this goes all the way back to 1989 for LA. I mean, you can see the peaks, you can see the pullbacks, but look what's happened over the last 10 years. This is nuts. And it's great. Hey, no complaints at all. I think we're all very thankful and we appreciate it. But I think we're all also like, gosh, how much higher can it go? Especially relative to incomes that have not grown anywhere near this hockey stick growth rate up that we've seen in home prices, right? And it's not just LA. Okay, here's another comparison of a couple markets. I live in Denver, but Denver and Seattle markets, same thing. This one cuts off at 2017, but prices have skyrocketed. And then particularly when you compare them to the little bit of growth we've seen in incomes, for me, I start to question how much further this run-up has to go in a lot of these ultra hot markets, right? So what I do is I invest outside of my own backyard. I'm one of those people, live where you want, invest where it makes sense. I'm always thinking, hey, what are the markets that make the most sense for me, where I think I can get the twin pillars of real estate investing? That's what we call them. First pillar is strong, positive net monthly cash flow. Got to have that, no matter what. Because I hear too many people on the West Coast, too many people in Denver saying, oh, I don't care if I make any money every month. I don't care if I break even or lose a little bit of money. I buy my investment properties for appreciation only. And I say, you know what, that works until it doesn't. But anybody that's over 35, 40 years old and has been in this market knows that only works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you can get crushed. Doesn't make sense. You have to get both. You have to have the opportunity for strong appreciation, but you also have to have good, solid, consistent, net positive monthly cash flows. All right. So what I do is I go into markets and I look for markets that have lots of strong market characteristics, maybe that are more affordable than where we all live right now, where we have the opportunity to make appreciation and cash flows. And here are some of the things I'm always looking for. You ought to take a picture of this, do a screenshot, because these are all key things you should be thinking of, whether you work with us or whether you work on your own. You've got to be breaking down markets, looking at all these metrics and these variables and seeing how those cities stack up to see if they make sense for you to invest in, okay? And again, when I do my long version of the webinar, which is about 2 hours rather than the 45 minutes to an hour today, I do break these down, but I don't have time to do that today. All right, now, here are some homes that we've done recently, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, okay? Nothing fancy. These are really good quality, I'm going to call them B minus quality homes and neighborhoods, just split level. Here's a lot of people say this is ugly. Okay. I think it's beautiful. Why do I think it's beautiful? It's got 2 doors, multifamily. That means I've got an income stream coming off from the unit on the left and an income stream coming off from the unit on the right. That's how I see it. Okay. I'm not married to this. It's an investment, right? So to me, this is a beautiful, beautiful looking building. Love it. Here's another cute one, a little bit older. Another all brick one. Love it. 2-car garage in the back. Here's a recent rehab we've done. Here's a 4-plex that we did. Again, 4 streams of income on this one. Units 1, 2, 3, and 4. Man, I love it. I don't care what you think of the exterior of that building. Okay, I like it myself, but come on. It's incredible. Here's another cute little bungalow, mid-70s house here. This is just a cool house. All right. So I tell everybody, right? Nice residential multifamily properties. You've seen these all over the place. We're not breaking any new ground here. But where were they located? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you right now, they're not located in Denver, anywhere along the West Coast, and probably anywhere in Western United States. All right. What we focus on are dynamic Midwestern markets. And now I'm going to give you an example of what we look for. And this is just an example of one of the markets we're in. I'll tell you which market it is in a minute. So I'm not trying to hold the ball on you. I'm just trying to make you think a little bit here. Again, it's all about location, location, location. So one of the cities that we do a lot of work in here, it's a major transportation hub and logistics center for the United States, ranked top 10 best places to live. So again, I'm trying to check off as many boxes as I can for what I'm looking for in an investable metro market. It's somewhere in the United States, right? Look at $9 billion in major improvements underway, $4.5 billion in downtown. Some say it has the world's best barbecue. Just a little throwing that out as a teaser. But look at some of these other numbers. Now, again, this unemployment number was pre-COVID because I think it's somewhat irrelevant yet to do unemployment numbers post-COVID. I think in a few months from now, it'll start to stabilize and make sense. But look at that, 3.1. Median age 35, that's very young. By comparison, median age for Denver, which is one of the hottest markets in the nation, is 37. So even a little bit younger than that. Lots and lots of large corporations either have world headquarters here or regional hubs here. All right. They've got international speedways. So they got, a lot of activities and a really strong, highly educated workforce. I cannot emphasize that enough. That's what drives companies to come and invest, whether it's companies that we all see moving out of Denver and moving out of the Silicon Valley and the West Coast states, moving to these other states. They got to make sure they've got an educated and diverse base of people that they can hire, right? So these are all things we're looking for. This particular metro area over the last 10 years, population's grown by 7%. And look at these numbers. Average rents increased 8.6% in 2020. We expect even more this year. Government employment had the largest employment increase back when, about a year and a half ago. So this is where we're at. And past 12 months appreciation, 10.2%. Actually, they just revised that upward a little bit. I think it's now 11.6. They always are updating that data. So, checks a lot of the boxes. Not going to say any place is perfect, but this is the kind of area I like. All right. Where is it? Well, this will give you a little indication. This is a cool little article I found on Realtor.com a couple of years ago. And it was kind of like kindred cities. So affordable alternatives to your favorite pricey places. Well, they happened to, it was kind of funny at the time, they compared Denver to Kansas City. If you like Denver, but you don't like the prices because they're too expensive, you're going to love Kansas City. And this is even more so the case today. So the city we've been talking about was Kansas City. You look back here and maybe some of you, would know that was Kansas City, but basically all those metrics we just walked through is Kansas City, which is one of several cities we offer properties in. We also offer in St. Louis, among other cities. Anyway, that's what we're talking about. That's how we break down a city. And we love Kansas City. We love Kansas City. We love St. Louis, lots of other cities in the Midwest. And I often talk to people and then I compare it and say, again, just to hammer the point home, I say, hey, here's the difference. I live in Denver and I went to this little investment webinar a couple months ago. This group was there and this guy literally gets up, kind of like I'm doing right now, talking to you. He gets up and goes, hey, I'm going to tell you right now. I own 5 investment properties in Denver and I lose $300 per month per property. And I don't care. I don't care at all because I'm buying for appreciation. Now, this guy who's kind of young, okay, young compared to me, maybe not compared to you guys, but he's probably early to mid 30s. He's like, I don't care. I'm losing $300 a month per property. I'm buying for appreciation. Don't listen to other people. Buy now here in Denver. Prices are going higher. My dad said, be careful. I said, hey, Dad, what do you know? Old news, old generation. Forget about that. I say you're crazy because people really do lose money every month in Denver, but they still buy because they're buying for appreciation. And I'm just going to tell you, you can talk to anybody that was in the Denver investment market in the mid 2000s or West Coast markets at the same time, and they'll say, we got our clock clean because we were underwater and we didn't get appreciation and prices went down and we were left holding the bag. You don't want to be that guy. You've got to protect yourself. What do they say? Plan for the worst, hope for the best. That's where you have to have that positive net monthly cash flow. We insist on it, and you also have to have a potential for appreciation. So that's how we break down the markets themselves. Now let's talk about the rest of it, because again, we're a turnkey investment property. You know, this is all great. You know, you've got a good property, looks good. You got to make sure you rehab it right. All right. So we also focus on providing a top of the line rent ready rehab. And any of you, I'm not saying you have to use us at all. You know, I'm here doing some promotion, but at the same time, I know lots of you are doing your own thing. Okay. Well, just make sure when you're doing your own thing and you're rehabbing the property that you do it right. We use licensed and bonded contractors, of course. We're doing a top of the line professional rent ready rehab. What does that mean? It does not mean granite countertops. Okay. At least in my world, it doesn't. It doesn't mean brand new, you know, hardwood flooring. It means affordable, rent ready. The tenants can come in, you know, they're probably not going to use a cutting board on the countertops. I want to make sure those countertops hold up. Things like that. Top of the line rent ready rehab. We want it to be the nicest rent ready property in the neighborhood. That's what we're going for. And it's nothing fancy, but here's an example of, you know, recent rehab that we've done. Property. Not bad at all. But, you know, you can see after we finished it here, it kind of pops. Exterior looks nice. You know, in the interior, again, this is the Midwest. If they have hardwood floors, we keep the hardwood floors. If they don't, we put in carpet. You got carpet, you got your two-tone, you know, light gray paint, you know, which is the new substitute for Realtor beige. You got blinds. You got a linoleum flooring that looks like wood. Nice, clean kitchen. Nice, clean bathroom. You know, everything you want. Everything you need, nothing extra. That's how that works. All right. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the rehabs. I mean, I can send you pictures till you're blue in the face. We've done 1,000, but I want you to know how it works. But having said that, now let's take a step back. I know I talk fast. I know we're covering lots of ground, but stick with me. We found a great property. It's out of state. We've rehabbed a great property. So we think we got a good location. We think we've got a great property. It's been rehabbed really, really well. Okay, none of that matters at all if you don't have good property management. And I can't emphasize this enough. You're going to make or lose money on your property based on how well the property is managed. You can see we hammer this home all the time. And people, they give it short shrift and say, hey, it doesn't really matter. Oh, it matters. It's everything. And particularly when you're investing out of state, if you don't have good quality property managers, you're going to find yourself in a pickle real quick. And people say, what's the big deal? What do property managers do? All right, well, here's some things that property managers do. And let me give you a great example. What we require all of our property managers to do are unannounced in-home visits prior to renting to anybody. So if you're out there and you manage your own properties, do this. I found this has improved my quality of tenants. I can't even tell you how much. It's incredible. But what we do is before we finally allow that tenant to move into one of our properties, we do an unannounced home visit. Hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, just thought I'd pop by, had a couple more documents for you to sign. Can I come inside for a sec? They don't know we're coming. I pop inside and what am I going to see? I'm going to look at that house and I'm going to say, okay, whatever this house looks like right now, is exactly what my investment property that I'm having them move into is going to look like in 6 months, right? If it's clean and well kept, that's what my house will look like in 6 months. And that's what I want. If it's trashed out, dirty and gross, that's also what my property is going to look like in 6 months. If I rent to that tenant, and needless to say, not going to happen. So I can learn a lot literally in 30 seconds to a minute of stepping inside someone's house and doing an unannounced home visit before we rent to those tenants. And again, these are just little things you can do to make sure you protect yourself. Your property manager should be doing this, or you should be doing it if you manage your own property. So keep these things in mind. People always underestimate the importance of property managers. To me, it's everything. It's your lifeblood of having good quality portfolios of out-of-state investments, right? What we do, of course, we partner with best-in-class local property management companies. They manage all of my properties. So you have access, you use the same property managers that manage all of our properties. That's how it goes. They've got lots of experience. They don't manage thousands of properties, so they give you that hands-on. They manage them closely and intensely, but they've seen it all. They've made the mistakes. Between them and me, we've probably made every mistake you can think of over the last 13 years. No sense in reinventing the wheel. I don't want you to make those mistakes. Let me make the mistakes. You learn from me, all right? Property management is everything. That's all I can say. I can't spend too much more time on it, but that's how it goes. So here's the recap. I was just telling you. We acquire properties. This is our model, turnkey investing model. We rehab the property. We place a tenant. We partner up with local property management, get you set up with them, and then all you have to do is collect the check. So pretty simple. It's what you're looking for. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean you don't do anything. I tell everybody, our typical investors probably own, I'm going to say somewhere around 6 properties. They usually start off with a couple, then they build up and own 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever. I tell everybody, you still got to budget some time every month to do a phone call, a Zoom call, whatever, with the property manager. Spend 30 minutes going over your properties one by one, making sure everything's cool, that there are no issues that came up. But if you do that, you're good to go. Not a big deal. All right, so I tell everybody that's the model. That's how it works. But now let's see real life. Let's compare a couple of markets and see how this works. All right, basically, here's what we're going to do. I took a Denver property that I own, bought it in 2008. I bought it cheap in Denver. And I would say I was fortunate. Okay. I'd like to tell you that I was so smart, but I wasn't. I was fortunate and was able to take advantage of the market a little bit at that time and pick up some properties. This is one of them. Let's pretend we're buying an investment property in Denver. Now, keep this in mind. This is Denver. So I know those of you on the West Coast, your numbers are going to be way higher than this. And probably your net income numbers are going to be much worse than this, would be my guess. But in Denver, the numbers don't pencil out very well either. So I'm just giving you one snapshot of one market. This is a Denver property. It sells for $390 according to Zillow right now. That's what I use. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, nothing fancy. Rent $2,100 a month. That's what we're getting. Zillow says we should be getting a little less than that, but we're getting $2,100. Now, to buy this property today, $390,000, you're going to have to put down, if you want to get traditional financing with a bank, even though they just changed, remember, they just changed financing where they've limited a lot of these banks to only or I guess it's Fannie and Freddie, these guys, Freddie Mac, to only purchasing up to 7% of investment property. So it's going to make it even more difficult to get bank financing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But let's say you're doing traditional bank financing, you have to put 20% down plus closing costs. It comes to about $80,000, $83,000 on this price of a house. And again, $390,000, that's a very affordable investment property for Denver, which is ridiculous, but it is what it is. Okay, well, that's going to leave you with a loan of $312,000. It's about $1,535 a month. And I did that at about 4.25%. Rates have gone up 0.75% in the last few weeks, and I have not updated this slide. So this payment's going to be much higher than this now, probably another $100 a month more. And I have not accounted for that. So this is a bargain the way I have it set up. Taxes, insurance, property management, and maintenance and vacancy all come to $479. This is important. If you're working with me, if you're working with other people, if you're doing it on your own, you've got to account for all these costs, okay? You've got to be able to compare apples to apples. Make sure you budget for all these things because they're going to be expenses at some point. $479, taxes, insurance, property management at 8%, maintenance and vacancy. Okay, all I'm doing here, simple math, I am taking my $2,100 of monthly rent. I'm subtracting out my $1,535 from my mortgage payment, plus my $479 for taxes, insurance, and everything else, leaves me with $86 a month positive cash flow. And again, that's at a super low interest rate on that mortgage, $86 left over. That's a very, very small margin for error, if you ask me. Comes to $1,000 a year, I'm making 1.2% on my money. That's that kind of return. Here's the other thing. What happens if that property goes vacant? I'm now writing out a check for nearly $2,000 a month because I've got that huge mortgage payment plus all my other taxes, insurance. So this thing goes vacant, you're writing a big check. That's why when people say, I don't care if I'm negative every month on my mortgage, I'm like, yeah, it's all good as long as that thing's rented. If it's not rented, you're really going to be in a world of hurt in a hurry. All right, now let's take the same thing here. What if instead we're going to take that same amount of money? So look, we 83,000 cash. What if we took that same amount of money and bought a property in Kansas City? All right. And again, this is your basic generic property. It's one of the ones we just rehabbed. And it's about 80,000 bucks. True story, $80,000 rehabbed, completely rehabbed. And you'll see in a little bit with rent guarantees, rehab guarantees, the whole 9 yards. 80,000 bucks, closing costs for only 500 bucks total, really cheap. But the rent's way lower, right? The other one, the rent was 2,100 a month. This one, the rent's 900 a month. So much lower, but look at taxes, insurance, property management, everything also much lower. Denver property was 479. This property is what, 295. Okay. So this one, again, you're buying all cash. You're using the exact same amount of money. Your rent's much lower, but let's just take now 900 monthly rent. There is no mortgage payment, so we don't have to subtract that. Take out the 295 taxes and insurance, and it leaves you with a little over 600 bucks a month. So you got over here 86 bucks a month or $600 a month, 7,200 a year, 9% return on your money. In neither case does this include appreciation. This is just a comparison of net positive monthly cash flows, property to property. That's a big difference. You're making, what is that, 7 times your money, 7 or 8 times more with this property using the same amount of money. It's not rocket science. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no hidden costs. There's nothing going on here. I'm walking you through it line by line. But maybe we could take this one step further and do even a little bit better. What if instead of buying this property in Kansas City all cash, what if we're ultra conservative and we use some leverage? We put a loan on the property, but we're conservative. We don't want to leverage ourselves. We don't want to put down 20%. We're going to put down 50%. Again, super conservative here. But now let's look at the numbers on this, okay? And you're going to be like, well, gosh, now the difference is same rent, same cost. The only difference is now you have a mortgage payment, right? So you have to subtract that 266 for the mortgage payment. Leaves you with 339 monthly cash flow. Well, let's look back here. You had 605 monthly cash flow on this property. Now you have 339. But what do you also have left? You still got 40,000 bucks left because you only tied up half of your money. So instead of buying one property, even with conservative financing, putting 50% down, you can buy 2 properties. Okay. So now with the same amount of money, 80,000 bucks, instead of having one property that gives you 86 bucks a month net positive cash flow, you can buy 2 Kansas City properties, giving you 678 monthly cash flow and 2 properties that are potentially appreciating. That comes to 600 bucks a month. It's an extra 7,000 a year. So using the same cash, your annual return just went 10.2% versus the 1.2 in Colorado. And again, that's a Denver property. We're not even talking a West Coast property in Seattle, San Francisco, LA, San Diego, you name it. Which would you prefer? Okay, it's a rhetorical question. And here's the other key that I tell everybody. Let's say you're trying to plan for retirement a little bit. All right, let's say you don't need that money, because if you're buying investment properties, you better not need that $678 a month to live on. That better not be the last $678 you have. So let's say you take that money and basically you're letting your tenants pay off those loans. You say, hey, these guys are paying rent every month. Let's let my tenants pay off the loan. They'll pay off these properties in 6 to 7 years. So I'm saying you could own both those properties free and clear in 6 to 7 years. And we haven't even mentioned appreciation. Okay. I'm talking income replacement and building for retirement. Again, let's just look at these numbers. I just did a quick 5-year summary here. 2 properties, they're each cash flow in $339 net per month, 60 months net cash flow plus appreciation on the properties at 4%. Now, in the last 12 months, property's been going up about 11.6%. So we're way conservative here. 4%, that equals 75,000 of profit. That's 75,000 of profit with as little as 80% down. That's crazy. To get that stock market, you've got to average 14.2% per year, every year for the next 5 years with no down periods. Not your 160,000 going down at all. It has to keep going up and be consistent the whole time. All right. You tell me, okay, I'm not getting that in the stock market. I'm not coming anywhere close to that. I need something that's going to get me closer to retirement. And you can see now why I really am a fan of real estate as at least part of your overall retirement portfolio. Now, again, let's compare this with a few other properties. That's not a one-off deal. Again, here's the Colorado, here's the Denver property. You already know the numbers on this. Here's another property in Kansas City. It's a little more expensive, 90 grand. You're putting 45 down and it's cash flowing 357 a month after your mortgage payment and everything else. You know, kind of the same story, different property. Here's a really cool duplex in St. Louis that we just did. I think we did this a month or two ago. I just updated this slide. A little bit more expensive, 120 grand. But again, let's say you're ultra conservative and you only put $60,000 down. Look at the numbers on this. Your cash flow in 605, which happens to be, what is that, 6, 7, 8 times more than the Denver property. And you still have $20,000 left over to, you know, save up for your next property. I mean, this is a powerful concept, but what do you have to do? You have to be willing to look outside your own backyard. And sometimes people have issues with that. It's tough to do, and I get that. All right, so we've kind of walked through the properties, walked through how everything works with financing. Now let's talk about the financing itself, because we all know there's a few ways you can buy properties, right? You buy it all cash, of course. You can use traditional bank, put 20 down, 25% down, full doc loan. You know, you're going to have to give, you know, last couple of years tax returns, W-2s, all that kind of stuff. You can also use IRAs, self-directed IRA loans. I love those. We do a lot of business with people that do that. You have to put down a little bit more money. But what we also did is we found a few years ago that a lot of these traditional banks, they didn't really like financing some of these houses because these houses were less expensive. The loans weren't very large, so the banks weren't making much money. So what we did is created our own in-house financing. We started this in 2011, about 10 years ago. And we made it to work with two groups of people. We wanted to be self-employed people or people that didn't show a lot of income on their tax returns. And we wanted it to work with self-directed IRAs. We wanted it to comply with all the IRS guidelines. So that's what we did. So we built our in-house financing to work perfectly with self-directed IRAs and for self-employed people. It works more like an asset-based loan. We don't report the credit. It's all in-house underwriting, so we can close in 6 to 10 days. We don't need tax returns, W-2s. Super low closing costs. Closing costs are literally $595 per loan total. Includes everything. And you can borrow or buy an unlimited number of properties with us. So this has been an incredibly powerful tool for us. It gives people lots of flexibility that didn't think they were going to be able to qualify for loans easy enough. Okay. Now, again, think about it. We're doing in-house financing, but we sourced the property. We rehabbed the property. We know the property manager's managing the property. So from our perspective, it's a fairly low risk investment. Okay. That's how the financing works. So we can get into more details later. Again, I'm just trying to give you the basics. We also offer, this is CPO, certified pre-owned, you know, like the cars. We do the same thing on the homes. We do a rent guarantee. Rent guarantee if we sell you the property and at the time we close, if it's a vacant property, because we just rehabbed it, we guarantee to pay you the rent for the next 3 months while we put a tenant in the property. We also guarantee the amount of rent. If I tell you it's going to rent for $900, it's going to rent for $900. And if it rents for less, we're going to write you out a check for the full year for the difference. So we're not going to leave you hanging. If it's turnkey investment properties, I've done over 1,000 properties. 70% of our business is referral business. It's because we stand behind what we say. We tell you the rent's going to be X, it's going to be X. We also guarantee all the mechanicals and all the warranty work on the property. If this is turnkey, it doesn't mean you write checks for problems and leaks and problems with the property and deferred maintenance. No. This has to be where you're not writing checks. So we're trying to make it so that you don't have any costs, any deferred maintenance associated with this property for the first couple of years, except for normal tenant wear and tear. Okay. And obviously you have a deposit. So if, if the tenant breaks something, you use part of that deposit to fix it up. They know that they're responsible as well. But we're trying to eliminate any big ticket items for you. We guarantee all the mechanicals as well. So we've tried to put together a program that we've learned over time that really protects you and also protects us. That's the basic program right there. Now what I want to do is show you how this works for real and use some real examples. And I'm going to tell you, here's a great example of how someone used this. And right now, to give you an idea, I've got 9 clients I'm working with who are doing a 1031 exchange. So for those of you that don't know what a 1031 exchange is, here it is. I laid it out for you in as simple a terms as I can possibly come up with. Here's how it goes. You sell your property in an expensive market, presumably more expensive than where you're buying. Place those proceeds from the sale with a 1031 fiduciary. There are companies out there, hold your money and it sits there. Then you buy multiple properties in a more affordable market. As long as you do a couple of things, as long as your money from the sale of your first property, as long as you don't touch it and it's held by an intermediary, and then as long as you buy at least as much total cost of properties as you sold, you don't have to pay any taxes on that original sale. All taxes are deferred. So you'll save we have people who sell properties in Colorado, they'll net 300,000 profit. And rather than them paying, I don't know, 25% tax, it was at 75 grand or something in taxes. They'll take the 300 grand, roll it by 8 or 9 properties in St. Louis or Kansas City, save 75,000 in taxes. And now they've got all those properties working for them. You can collect income from multiple properties. It's really that simple. And people say, is it really that simple? I'm like, okay, here's an example right now. Okay, we have a woman, a client of ours, owns 2 properties in Denver. I should say she owned. We've already done this. They were rented a little bit below market at $1,750 and $1,950. Market value is $350 each. Total equity she had between both properties, she bought these quite a few years ago, 240 grand. So she had a fair amount of money. And she told me from her spreadsheet that she already had, she was netting $300 per month after everything with both properties. So again, kind of like that example I gave you, she felt like it was a little bit skinny and she could do better if she put her money to work elsewhere, but she didn't want it in the stock market. It was already in properties. How could she do better? My proposal to her was, what happens if we sell both properties, get the equity out? Let's do a 1031 exchange because you don't want to pay taxes on the profit on those properties, right? I propose she buy 6 properties in the Midwest with financing. That should net her, according to my calculations, this was about a year ago, $340 times 6 properties. That's $2,000 a month versus $300 per month. And that doesn't include appreciation and no tax hit on the sale of those properties out of pocket. All right, now here's what actually happened. That's what I suggested. What ended up happening, she was able to buy 8 properties, not 6, 8 properties. They also netted about the same, call it 320 to 340. Long story short, I think right now she makes over $2,500 a month versus the $300 a month. And she's like, Travis, I can't even believe this is possible. And she goes, but then again, now that I see how easy it was, I can't believe more people aren't taking advantage of it. And I'm like, people are taking advantage of it now. It's just sometimes people are a little bit slow to learn. But like I said, we've got 8, 9, 10 clients right now. Another reason we have that is, and I don't care where you lean on the political spectrum at all, but they are saying that there is a decent chance that the Biden administration may eliminate the 1031 exchange deduction for taxes on real estate. Because of that, we're seeing a lot of interest. Now, whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know, but it has been brought up multiple times during the election, and now it keeps getting floated. I keep reading about it every couple of weeks, but I've not heard anything concrete yet. But if that does happen, that would take away this opportunity. So if you're thinking about doing it, at least give us a call and talk about it. It's really simple, but it's something you should think about doing if you're thinking about selling a property anyway, especially on the West Coast. We did one last summer. A woman sold her Santa Monica 1-bedroom condo, netted 600 grand, bought, 8 or 9 properties from us, used a little bit of leverage, and she's quintupled her cash flow. And she's excited as can be. She said, hey, I felt like I was at the top of the market in Santa Monica, wanted to get out and build my retirement. So that's the power of this concept. And I have people come to us all the time and say, hey, how could I use this for college? And I say, well, there's lots of ways to save for college. You can do the old 529 plan, put some money away in stocks, all that stuff. You can only use it for college down the road. But what if you used real estate for college? People don't think of this. Well, here was a proposal we had to one client a couple of months ago. We're working on it right now. They had 3 kids, age 8, 10, and 12. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're starting to get old. I'm going to have to pay for college. And I don't know about you guys. I have 3 kids and 2 of mine are in college right now. And it's expensive. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. It's very expensive. Those of you that have kids in college, you know the pain I'm feeling, right? So I think that these clients of ours were very wise to start thinking about this, but they're like, oh my gosh, this is coming up really quickly. We've got 6 years. And then my first kid goes to college. I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. They had a little bit of money. So they said, what can we do with 110 grand? I said, here's what we can do. We can buy 3 properties with financing, but let's build a plan where we're going to pay off using the snowball effect, which is you take all the cash flow, net positive cash flow from all your properties and pay off the smallest loan first. Then when that's paid off, you take all the cash flow, go to the next smallest loan and so forth till you've paid these off. Long story short, we put together a proposal showing him how he could pay off one property in the next few years, and then 3 properties where he could net $1,300 per month for college for the next 8 years, starting 6 years from now. So the whole time all of his kids are in college, he could net at least $1,300 per month, $15,000 per year, and build $150,000 equity just using that $110,000. So it actually ended up it was going to give him an extra $150,000, $160,000 more for college that he would have been able to get by doing a 529 plan in the stock market. So, again, it's not the answer to everything, but it's another arrow in your quiver. It's another way you have to think and open your mind to what can real estate do versus other asset classes. How can I use real estate to my advantage to help me with some of these, life expenses that you're going to have? It's a powerful tool, and we've seen it change people's lives. So think about that. All right, we're going to wrap up here. Looks like we got about 8 minutes left. I got one more key story here. 1 story, 2 concepts. And I told you at the beginning, I was going to show you if you had 160 grand. And again, it's just a random number because the numbers work really easy for me. And I'm a numbers guy, but I got to be able to do it in my head, especially when I'm talking to you. So we got 160 grand put towards retirement. To refresh your memory, put that in the stock market, you make 9% and it's straight up. No ups and downs. I'm giving you full credit that market's going to go straight up 9% a year, get you to 245. Then you start taking 4% out. That's $9,800 a year. Okay. That's where we're at. That's how we started this presentation. All right. We got to do better than that. I know we can do better than that, right? So let's do it. What happens if we take the same 160,000? I think we can turn that into around, instead of 10 grand a year, 40 grand a year. Here's how we're going to do it. All right. You got 160 grand. So let's say now 160 grand, we want to be super conservative, but we're going to use leverage or mortgages. So you're going to buy 4 properties. 4 $80,000 properties. That's 320 grand. You're going to put down half, 160,000, and then you're going to borrow the other 160,000. You're going to use our financing even. Okay. How long is it going to take you to pay off the first house, assuming you take all the net positive cash flow from all 4 properties and use it to pay off the first loan? Anybody have an idea? Just think it through there. And I'll give it to you. Anyway, it takes 24 months. So it's going to take you about 2 years to pay off that first house. Now, what do you have? You have 3 houses that still have a loan on them, but now you own 1 free and clear. So now you juiced up your cash flow even more. Now, what if you take all the cash flow from all those houses, which is even more, and you apply it to pay down the second house? How long will it take now to pay off the second house? Because remember, the second house now, you've got more money going towards it. Instead of 24 months, only 19 months. Now you own 2 free and clear. Now you got 2 houses that are just pumping out tons of cash flow plus 2 with loans. How long to pay off the third house? Only 15 months. Now you got 3, do it again. 12 months later, you got 4 months. So long story short, in less than 6 years, you would own 4 houses free and clear. And if they just went up 4% a year, you're at 400,000 home value with $40,000 a year net annual income with just 4 houses. Now, that can help replace income. That's real money, 40 grand. That's real retirement income, 40 grand. Throw that on Social Security, not bad. You're living all right, right? Double that, do 8 houses, you're up to almost 80 grand a year in income. And over 10 years, look at these numbers. I mean, it just goes up, up, up. Over 20 years, you got over 700,000 in home value, 816,000 cumulative net cash flow, 57,000 net income per year with only 4 houses. You got 8 houses, you got about 115 grand a year. And again, look at this. I'm assuming 3% rent increase, 3%. We got 8.6 last year. And 4% appreciation. We got 11.6 last year. Okay. These are conservative numbers. All right. These are powerful, powerful tools. This is how you could do income replacement, or you can have a good, safe, secure, and predictable retirement with conservative real estate investing. All right. Now what I want to do is let you listen to this. Hopefully this will work. Listen to this gentleman. He's invested out of state. And once he bought some properties, I did a little interview. So I'm just going to let you listen to it.
Alrighty, we're here with Daryl Barajas. Daryl has purchased several properties with Invest One properties. Daryl, tell us a little bit about your experience.
My experience has been great. I was the first time out of state investor. Got with Travis to buy my first properties. Experience was great, and did everything they said they were going to do, and even beyond, even after my purchases were completed.
Okay, and how many properties have you purchased so far with Invest One?
I'm about to close on my 10th property here at the end of the month. So everything's been going great that way.
Okay, and you purchased 10, what, over the last year or so?
Yes, it's been a little less than a year that I purchased the 10, and didn't know I can really do that, but it worked out really well.
Okay, and I know we sat down and kind of built a personal profile with you. What were your goals coming into this? What were you thinking when you first started working with us?
Well, my goals were to, I wanted to get myself set up for retirement, and had a certain number of properties in mind, and figured over the next 5 years or so, I would get to where I have so I can retire. And my goals for this year was to have 10 properties. Didn't know if I can reach it or not, but it managed to happen. And Travis and them actually helped it happen with the way that they do everything.
Okay, great. And any issues that you've had, things that you would say, recommendations you would say to other people?
No, I would just say that you would be, it's very nerve wracking when you're buying your first ones out of state, if you never have done that before. But Travis makes it really comfortable going through that whole process. So I would say that's about the only thing that I had a real issue about, was just the nervousness of myself, and really having to put myself out there and out of my comfort zone.
Okay, and so you're from Denver. How would you say it's gone so far investing in properties out of state? Have you felt comfortable with it?
Oh yeah, it's been great. I actually love it because I love Kansas City. I love being able to go out there, and it's a lot of fun out there, and it's great going to see my properties. It's a lot of fun doing that.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Dale. Appreciate it.
Yep.
So to me, the key takeaway from that is it is not, everybody gets a little bit nervous thinking about going out of state. And I tell everybody what you basically have to do, and this is how I live life: go with your gut. Easy for me to sit here and give you the spiel and tell you how great it is to invest out of state and how you have to think outside of your own backyard, but you have to do what's right for you. And I have people that say, hey, I'm not comfortable. I only want to invest in LA area. That's where I live. People that say, I only want to invest in Denver area. That's where I live. I say, cool. That's how it goes. Go with your gut. If your gut says, hey, this is something that seems interesting to me, move forward. If not, I would say, don't do it. Listen to your gut. And I should say on that, here's how we do it. And while we're doing this, is just another little testimonial. Here's what I do is, if you would like us to, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down with you either via Zoom call or in person or however, spend about 45 minutes to an hour finding out what your goals are and seeing what you want to accomplish, and see if there's a nice fit there, and if it makes sense for us to start building a portfolio for you. And then if we decide that makes sense, we are very custom, we're very hands-on. We'll start putting together a portfolio for you. So a lot of people say, hey, Travis, do you guys just blow out a bunch of properties and send them to people first come, first serve? No, we don't do that at all. We're heavy touch, hands-on. I want to get to know you, what your plan is. what your goals are, and how we can help you achieve those goals through conservative real estate investing. And then once we've done that, I'll try to build a portfolio of properties that I think can work for you. And then we go from there. So that's how we do it. And that's probably all I've got for today. If you guys want more information, feel free to shoot me an email, or you can call. There's the office phone, toll free, all that kind of stuff. Happy to sit down and meet with you. But otherwise, I would just say thank you for taking some time this morning. Appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of the day. There are a lot of great speakers coming up, and I'm excited to listen to some of them. And I know you guys are, but thanks for having me. I appreciate your taking the time this morning.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Travis. Great information.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you having me. And I'm excited about all the speakers coming up. I mean, this is going to be awesome. So that was just the start, so I'm excited.
Yes, we're really excited about the day, everyone. We have an amazing weekend for you, some great content and information. And I know the system is new to everyone. It's a little bit, when something is new, it can be a little bit scary and challenging. And we appreciate you exploring this new platform and being with us this weekend. We have an amazing weekend. We do have the next speaker already on as well, and he's an amazing educator, Tony Watson. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on. Travis, I want to thank you for your time and your expertise and for sharing this morning with us. And everyone, if you need more information about Travis's company, you can also hit us up as well at Realty411.com. You can go to our booth and chat with us at any time during the day for any questions. So Tony, we're going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Welcome everyone. This is such a great weekend to learn more about real estate, right? It's always a great weekend to learn more about real estate, in my opinion. My name's Tony Watson. I work for Robert Hull & Associates. We are a full-service tax consulting firm based out of Glendale, California. I've been in the Glendale, California, Southern California area for the past 50 years. And thank you, Linda, for having us back. I've spoken for Realty411 for quite a few years now. And it's always a pleasure coming back and seeing your face and seeing all of the speakers. Once again, I always think that you bring great referrals, great vendors to the podium, the digital podium this year, in fact. So today's topic, I'm going to discuss top tax secrets for the successful real estate investor. Our firm has helped thousands and thousands of real estate investors, small business owners over the past 50 years plan ahead to pay less tax. And that's the main goal in every tax planning scenario, is to plan ahead so that you have an implemented plan in place before the end of the calendar year, so that when you file your tax return, there are no surprises. You are hitting that obligated tax amount and not a penny more than that obligated amount, because let's face it, everyone pays some sort of tax. So if we plan ahead, ultimately we will actually reap the benefit of the results. Failing to plan will be ultimately planning to fail. So first and foremost, let's make sure that before the end of 2021, that we have a plan in place to pay our obligation in overall tax. Once again, my name is Tony Watson. I've been working for Robert Hall for, 17 years now. I am the keynote speaker. I am also a real estate investor, and just in my own personal portfolio of clients, my clients manage, flip, own roughly over $150 million in real estate, as well as other business transactions. So we do see a lot here. I am not a one-man show by any means. We've got about 55 people on staff here at Robert Hall, and we do file tax returns in all 50 states. So we are able to file out of state, out of California, real estate investment tax returns as well as anything related to income tax in general, estate planning, trusts, fiduciaries, gift tax returns, 501c3s, partnerships, S Corps, C Corps, the latter. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to our firm at any time. We offer free consultations. Normally they're in person, but right now, because of the pandemic, we've been able to set up a whole digital platform for our clients to connect with us, actually both our current and potential clients. So keep that in mind, and I will remind you about this at the tail end of my presentation. So some of the top tax deductions that we all need to be aware of going into 2021, and also to understand that we do not have a final tax code yet for 2021's tax year. So we're very much still kind of embedded in the Internal Revenue Code for 2020 and previous years. The Biden administration will start to roll out a lot of the new tax code changes over the next 8 to 10 months. So we will start to see a lot of those changes coming out throughout 2021. Right now, their main focus is on the relief packages that have been released. One was just passed last Wednesday, or last Wednesday. That changed a couple things for 2020's tax filing year, but a majority of those changes did happen to land in the 2021 changes for the Internal Revenue Code. But as far as deductions are concerned, if I am a real estate investor, I own property, I manage property, I flip property, rehab, wholesale, whatever part of the real estate industry you focus in, we're going to need to make sure that we maximize at every corner all of the ordinary, necessary, and legitimate write-offs that we are allowed to take dollar for dollar as real estate investors. So number one is going to be marketing and advertising. Whether you are in the business of flipping property or managing property, or even just owning rental investments, whenever there is a vacancy, whenever you have a property that needs to be flipped quickly or wholesaled quickly, whenever you are managing properties and you're trying to drum up new business, you need to get your company's name out there. You need to fill that vacancy. And so marketing and advertising is going to be a dollar for dollar write-off to offset rental income, as well as self-employed income. Great overall dollar for dollar write-off. Professional supplies and equipment, one of my favorite write-offs, because number one, it has a very low risk for audit, and number two, you have options of how to write these expenses off. For instance, how many people in your world do you know who can do what they do professionally without a cell phone, without a laptop, without a desk, a chair, a pen, a piece of paper? You know, these are the most common deductions that business owners and real estate investors will have. And so the federal government is going to expect you to have supplies and equipment written off on either your Schedule C returns or Schedule E returns. Another reason why I like supplies and equipment, pardon me, another reason why I like this deduction so much is we have options of how to write it off. With equipment, for instance, a computer has a 7-year lifespan. And so you can either depreciate the actual computer or the cell phone piece of equipment over 7 years, or you can accelerate the write-off and take it all in 1 year. This acceleration of the deduction is called Section 179ing the deduction. It's a special election that you make on your return to elect not to spread the deduction out over the 7-year lifespan, but to accelerate it and take it all in 1 year. Now, why is this unique to understand? And why would I ever want the deduction over 7 years rather than taking it all in 1 year? Well, let's say that because of the pandemic, you had less overall revenue and you had roughly the same amount of expenses. And let's just assume for the time being that you're not paying any tax as is. Well, accelerating a write-off might only kick you into further of a loss. And at that point, it's not really saving you anything because you're already paying no tax. So instead of taking it all in 1 year and losing the deduction when it's not saving you anything, you can spread it out over the remaining 7 years of the equipment lifespan. So just a brief example of how you can actually avoid taking the deduction all in 1 year if it's not necessary, and not losing that potential write-off, which could offset future income when we return to whatever the new norm is going to be after the pandemic dust starts to settle. Number 3, auto and truck. Car and truck is a very unique topic in the tax industry because it deals with a couple different angles a couple different approaches to how to maximize this deduction. Some people will choose mileage. Some people will choose actual car and truck expenses like oil changes, tire replacements, repairs, maintenance. And some people will take lease expenses versus purchasing expenses. So there are a couple different angles that you can approach this write-off and how to write it off, and who's actually going to achieve the full deductible benefit of all of these different types of ways that we can write it off. So mileage is at 57.5 cents per business mile. And that means that if you take your total mileage for the full year and you break it down into 3 sections, personal mileage, commuting mileage, and business mileage, the portion that is business is deducted at 57.5 cents per business mile. So let's say you put 20,000 miles on your car total, 5,000 for personal, 5,000 for commuting, and then you have 10,000 for business mileage. That would leave you with a $5,750 write-off. And you're thinking, oh, that's a really good write-off. Maybe though, maintenance and repairs might be a larger write-off for you. So you have to make this decision with your tax advisor, or if you're a self-prepared taxpayer, you'll have to figure out which is going to save you more, right? If you're in the industry to actually purchase or lease it, then it's a much different option, right? So you can either take the actual lease expense per month, or you can take the purchase depreciation on the vehicle. But once again, this is not something that you just want to plug onto your tax return, because each of those write-offs is deducted in a very specific way, and some of those deductions may be limited. For instance, if I own one vehicle and I use a portion of it for personal use and a portion of it for business use, I actually have to split that write-off. So if I'm paying $500 a month to lease a vehicle, and let's say 60% is personal use, 40% is business, I'm not going to be allowed the full deduction dollar for dollar on my Schedule C or on my Schedule E business or rental property management form. We will have to split it out based on personal versus business time. And same with depreciation on a vehicle. If I go out and I purchase a vehicle, sure, it's going to give me a great large upfront write-off. But if I only own one vehicle and I use it for business and personal use, I have to make sure that I'm allocating the usage based on percent of use versus business versus personal. So this is not something that you want to decide on your own. I guess that's how I want to wrap up this particular deduction, is that you don't want to just throw the number on your return. You want to discuss this with a licensed tax advisor to make sure that you're taking the allowable amount. Sure, if you have an incorporated entity like a C Corp or an S Corp or even a partnership LLC, if the title or if the lease agreement is under the business name, sure, you might be able to take that expense dollar for dollar. At that point, it's not a personal lease. It's not a personal purchase. It is a lease or a purchase under a business name. And so in some cases, you can navigate around some of these limitations simply by titling and titling and insuring your car in a specific way to show it as a 100% business expense versus a personal and business expense. So have this conversation with your tax advisor. Number 4, legal and professional fees. In most cases, dollar for dollar tax deductible. For instance, most of these expenses in 2018, if you are W-2'd, if you're an employee of a company and you're not self-employed, if you don't have rental investments, if you don't have self-employed income, a lot of these expenses are limited, if not fully disallowed, on your federal tax return. So legal and professional fees happen to be one of those expenses that for rental property owners and self-employed individuals still can be a dollar for dollar adjustment to overall income. Meaning that if I make $1,000 of income and I spend $1,000 on legal and professional fees, it's going to be a dollar for dollar offset to income. And that washes out my $1,000 in revenue. So make sure that you're maximizing these expenses. And if you've heard that some of these deductions are no longer a write-off, understand that it's no longer a write-off for specific taxpayers, not for all taxpayers. So just be aware of that as you get ready to file for 2020. Property deductions, property taxes, mortgage interest, on rental investments, repairs, maintenance, travel back and forth from the property, QIP, qualified improvement property. Property deductions are very unique because on a primary residence, you're really limited to just your mortgage interest and your property tax write-offs. And property taxes on a primary and a second home are capped at $10,000. That has not changed. The Biden administration is talking about repealing that, but nothing has been set in stone yet. So as of 2020, when you get ready to file for this year's tax return, last year's 2020 and 2021, you still have to make sure that on a primary and a second home, non-rental real estate investment not non-rental properties, that you are still capping your state and local tax deduction at $10,000. For mortgage interest, we are limited on a primary and a second home to the interest on the first $750,000 of mortgage debt if we had purchased these homes after December 15th of 2017. So if you bought a home to live in, your primary residence or a rental property, and you bought the home prior to December 15th of 2017, you were actually grandfathered into the old tax code, which is the mortgage interest deduction on up to the first $1 million of acquisition debt. So you can see that some individuals will be grandfathered into the old part of the Internal Revenue Code. Some have to play by the new set of rules. This, however, may change moving forward. So understand that 2021's tax code has not been released yet, so we still have to play the games based on the 2018 Tax Reform Act under the Trump administration. So we'll have to wait for the Biden administration to slowly start to roll out some of the new legislation, okay? Kind of diving back into the car deduction just briefly, some individuals in the real estate, actually most of my real estate professional clients, have always asked which is going to give me a greater benefit, leasing versus purchasing. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I want to make sure that everyone understands that leasing, one, is paying for something that you'll never own, right? Unless you buy out the lease. So leasing is going to be a much lower, more consistent write-off on a year-to-year basis. Whereas purchasing as of 2018 could qualify for a much larger upfront write-off. And this kind of accompanies a topic of what depreciation is allowable on the purchasing of a vehicle. When you buy a vehicle that weighs under 6,000 pounds, you can achieve an upfront bonus depreciation write-off of up to $18,000 all in the first year, potentially, depending on how it's titled and insured, so on and so forth. If you buy a vehicle that weighs over 6,000 pounds, you could potentially qualify for 100% deductible benefit, also called 100% bonus depreciation on the federal tax return, but only if that vehicle is 100% for business use, and number two, if the vehicle weighs over 6,000 pounds. These are the Chevy Tahoes, the Silverados, the Ford F-150s, the Mercedes G-Wagons, the Tesla Model X with the extended battery or extended range battery. So there are a number of vehicles that qualify for this 6,000 pound or heavier benefit. And that potentially could qualify this vehicle for a 100% tax deductible benefit, meaning that the $60,000, $70,000 Chevy Tahoe, if titled and insured correctly and acquired correctly, because it's over 6,000 pounds, could actually achieve a $60,000 overall write-off, dollar for dollar, but only on the federal tax return. California has not conformed to this part of the Internal Revenue Code, so California does not allow for the 100% deductible benefit. Only the IRS does. This is meant to sunset, I believe, in 2023. So you have a couple years to achieve this deduction or to go out and purchase a new vehicle to receive this tax benefit. But I'm not going to send my clients out to buy a vehicle solely for the tax benefit, right? This is really only for the individuals who are out currently looking for a new vehicle, and they're having or struggling between the idea of leasing versus purchasing. So before you actually make that decision, sit down with your tax advisor or anyone here at Robert Hull & Associates, and let's map out a plan for this and figure out which one can we, or which avenue can we take to achieve a greater tax deductible benefit. That's really, really important. So keep that in mind. Coming out of the pandemic, a lot of clients are thinking, well, because we're all being forced to work from home, is the in-home office still going to have the highest risk for audit? Is my Schedule C going to have a higher risk for audit? What's going to change coming out of this pandemic from an IRS audit perspective? Well, I do want to mention that, yes, even though people were forced to work from home or stay at home for a majority of 2020, meaning that they had to work from home, it doesn't negate the fact that the in-home office deduction will still have one of the highest risks for audit under current and new potential revenue code. And I'll tell you why, because a lot of clients think that the in-home office deduction just naturally has a high risk for audit because of the form number, the 8829, it just tends to be a higher audited form than other forms on an individual return. Well, make sure that you also understand that this is very much a legitimate deduction under the Internal Revenue Code for self-employed individuals and even property managers, real estate investors to take on their individual returns. In fact, there's a whole page in the Internal Revenue Code that states that the 8829 form is an ordinary, necessary, and legitimate write-off. What gets people flagged in an audit is the allocation or the percentage of their home that they're using to write off. For instance, even though you might use 40 or 50% of your living space as an office space, it doesn't make sense from a reasonable perspective to the IRS. They don't think that allocation is reasonable. And so it's not the actual deduction itself. It's not the allocation of mortgage interest or property taxes or utilities or HOA dues or even depreciation on the home that you own. It's actually the allocation of business percentage versus total square footage of the overall property. So make sure that you're not avoiding this write-off solely because it may have an increased risk for audit. Take this write-off because it is very much an ordinary, necessary, and legitimate write-off. It still will have a higher risk for audit, but do not be afraid of this write-off. Utilize someone who understands, a tax advisor who understands the benefits of these write-offs and how to navigate around some of those higher calculated DIF score forms. The DIF score is basically the risk for audit. So do not be afraid of taking deductions that are actually ordinary, necessary, and legitimate write-offs. The second most audited form on an individual return probably would be the Schedule C, which is the self-employed real estate form. For instance, if you're a property flipper or not a property flipper, but a property dealer flipping more than 3 or more properties within a 365-day period, or if you're a self-employed real estate professional making commission income through selling property or disposing property. So the Schedule C, the self-employed form, the sole proprietor form on the individual return, is the second in line for most audited forms on an individual return. These two forms work hand in hand. In fact, when you file an 8829 form, this 8829 form passes the deduction onto the form Schedule C and is actually written off on form Schedule C. So when you file these two forms, yes, they will tend to have a much higher risk for audit. But at the end of the day, that's why you hire a tax advisor to represent you in front of the Internal Revenue Service. Let us argue your position and do not try to argue the position yourself unless you are knowledgeable in Internal Revenue Code. Because the IRS will know that you are not a licensed tax advisor, and they'll know that you don't know the specifics that we as licensed tax advisors will know. And that is the position that we always take, is that these deductions are ordinary, necessary, and legitimate, and above and beyond, we are being reasonable with the allocation for in-home office use, okay? Now, one topic that is very much near and dear to my heart, probably one presentation that I've given more than any other presentation, is called The Power of Ink. And I'm going to slide this particular topic in here today just to discuss and squash some misconceptions of what is necessary, what is needed as a real estate investor, asset protection wise. Right out the gate, the first and foremost, most important thing that we should have as real estate investors is a proper insurance policy. Insurance policies are there and in place to pay out settlements in case an unforeseen event happens. When we get in our vehicles, we don't know that we're going to pull out of the driveway and be sideswiped by a speeding driver. When we are feeling healthy and all of a sudden we wake up the next morning and not feeling so good, we have health insurance to cover our trips back and forth from the doctor. We have insurance, liability insurance, malpractice insurance, workers' comp insurance, E&O insurance for real estate professionals. So we all have specific insurance policies to protect us in case something happens, an unforeseen event happens. That is by far the most important thing for us to have as real estate investors. The next level of asset protection would be entity selection. And so LLCs are great for rental investments. S Corps and C Corps are great for self-employed business ventures. I would never suggest for a real estate investor to put their rental properties in corporations for a number of reasons, because as soon as you take your rental investment, let's say it's worth $500,000, and you capitalize your corporation with a $500,000 property, you are trading $500,000 in real estate for $500,000 in shares of a corporation. And let's say that you hold that property in your corporation for the next 10 years. This is not an LLC, by the way. This is an S Corp or a C corporation. And 10 years later, you decide that, well, I don't want to keep that property in that corporation anymore. I want to take it back to my personal name and operate my S corporation in a different way. I want to do property flips, or I want to become a realtor and sell for, and earn commission income. And so you quit claim that property back to yourself. Now you hold the $500,000 basis property in your personal name. The corporation no longer holds real estate. In your mind, no taxable transaction happened, right? You didn't sell the property, you just took it back to your personal name. Well, the federal government views that differently because when you capitalized the business originally 10 years ago, you traded that $500,000 property for $500,000 in shares of a corporation. And then 10 years later, when you took the property back, the fair market value of that property at the time of transfer might have been $1.2 million, especially here in California. Over 10 years of appreciation with all the money that you put into the property, with all of the appreciation and value in those neighborhoods in certain parts of LA County, for instance, let's say it's now worth 1.2 million bucks. Well, when you took it back to your personal name, guess what? The federal government views that as you selling $500,000 in stock shares for $1.2 million. That's a $700,000 capital gain. And you didn't even sell the property, you just took it back personally. But the federal government would view that as a $700,000 capital gain and expect you to pay $700,000 in capital gain tax on the shares that you disposed of under the corporation. So that's why you don't want to put capital assets in a corporation if there is ever a chance for you to take that property back. Now, if you keep it in the corporation, you do 1031 exchanges in and out of the corporation, you never actually or bring the property back to you personally. And if you do end up selling it, you sell it under the corporation. And at that point, yes, there's a taxable gain. But if there's any chance that you'd ever want to take that property back to your personal name, do not put it in a corporation. Put it into an LLC, if anything. LLCs allow you to capitalize the business. They allow you to do property distributions from the business. They allow you to add partners, take off partners. And sure, there might be a reassessment of property tax basis, but nothing capital gain wise because you're not actually disposing of the property. Now, when you put a property into a partnership and you own the property solely, and then you put it into a partnership, yes, there might be a reassessment of property tax because ownership is changing. Ownership is actually changing. You don't own 100% of the LLC now. You have a partner that also owns part of the LLC. So have this conversation before you quit claim any deeds to any entities or refinance a property into an entity. Have this discussion with a tax advisor just to cross T's and dot I's to make sure that there is no significant tax implication on the back end. Now that's for a rental property owner. If you are a property dealer or a realtor selling property for commission income, you might want the best of both worlds. You might want the limited liability protection of an LLC, but all of the tax sheltering benefits of a corporation here in the United States of America. And there's a reason, very much a reason why most of the general public dislikes corporate America. They see them making all of this money, paying very little tax. We'll understand that, most of corporate America, they didn't write the tax code, but they have a lot of advisors like Robert Hull and Associates helping them shelter their money in entities and playing or utilizing the tax code to their benefit and helping them reduce overall income tax liability through the process. Well, the S Corporation, out of all the entities that we have to discuss, the C Corp, the LLC, and the S Corp actually is the only entity that can save you tax. I'm going to break that down in the next slide in just a second, but I did want to mention before we move on to how the S Corporation could actually reduce overall tax, I did want to mention that the third level of asset protection would be the trust. And it could be a living trust, it could be an irrevocable trust, a revocable trust, a land trust for anonymity benefit. There are many types of trusts, but this trust in particular I'm discussing is the living trust. And the living trust doesn't protect you from potential litigation. It doesn't have an insurance payout for an entitlement, but what a trust does is it protects you from probate here in the state of California or any other state that you own assets in. And so this trust is really to protect you not while you're alive, but to protect you after death. And so what you're trying to do through 1031 exchanging and asset separation, asset protection, putting all of your investments in a living trust is you're trying to kick the financial can down the road until what happens? Until you kick the can, right? So you're trying to avoid all of the significant tax implications while you're alive so that when you pass on to something bigger and better in another life, your next of kin inherit all of your properties, all of your assets in hopefully the most tax advantageous way, number one, and number two, free from being held in probate, meaning that they're going to inherit all of these assets without having to lawyer up and fight the state of California or any other state in probate court to argue as to why they deserve all of the assets that their parents or their related parties that they've worked their whole lives to obtain. So there are correct ways to protect your assets. I call this the golden pyramid, right? You want to start off with the insurance policy and have the entity structure if necessary. And at the very top, the owner of the policy, the owner of the LLC and all of the assets is not you individually, it's actually your living trust. So once again, not everyone will need this structure. Is it important? Yes. If you build wealth, if you're building your real estate and business portfolio, absolutely. We definitely want to make sure that you have all of these different layers of asset protection. Now, how does the S corporation actually save you tax? Well, let's say that you've made $100,000 in overall profit through your business. And I meant to change this. I'm sorry. It's not gross revenue that we're talking about. It's actually net revenue. So let's assume that after all of your expenses are taken into account under an S corporation, let's say that you get your profit down to $100,000. And these are the self-employed ventures that we're talking about right now, the real estate commission businesses, the property rehabbing businesses, the ones that have short-term capital gain that may be subject to self-employment tax on all of those gains. Let's say that after all of your expenses, you've got roughly about 100 grand in overall net profit. Well, as an S corporation, you are no longer considered to be self-employed. You're no longer considered to be a property dealer or a real estate professional as a sole proprietor. You are considered to be an employee working for a business that is a real estate business, okay? And after all of the business expenses come into account, let's say you've got 100 grand in profit. Well, if you're no longer self-employed, what are you? You are actually an employee of your own corporation, and employees have to receive a Form W-2. So the federal government deems necessary an S corporation to issue salary to its employees, but no greater and no less than a reasonable salary amount. For the real estate industries, reasonable salary can be as low as 40% of net revenue. So you've got a $40,000 W-2, 40% of 100K, 40,000 bucks. You get to write yourself off at that point. So 100 grand minus 40 grand gives you $60,000 in leftover profit. Now, what you've essentially achieved is not just complicating things, right? This is not just because we want to create more paperwork for you personally or for your business. We want to achieve some sort of greater layer of asset protection, but also on top of that, we want to reduce overall tax that a self-employed individual will pay on a year-to-year basis. Now, remember, a self-employed individual will pay federal tax, state tax in certain states, right? And also that nasty 15.3% of Social Security and Medicare tax, also known as self-employment tax. See, if you had not incorporated this and this business here, you would have paid 15.3% of self-employment tax on the full 100 grand. But under the S corporation, you've actually allowed yourself to reduce Social Security and Medicare tax on upwards of 60% of your business's profit, because once again, you're no longer self-employed. So you're no longer paying self-employment tax. You are an employee, which now self-employment tax has converted to payroll tax. And payroll tax is not on the full $100,000, is it? Payroll tax is only on the 40 grand that you paid yourself. So on $60,000 of your company's profit, you have avoided, not evaded. Remember, tax evasion is illegal. Proper tax avoidance is not. You have properly avoided 15.3% of self-employment tax on $60,000 of profit. That right out the gate in this scenario is roughly just shy of about $10,000 in overall tax savings. I think it's more like $9,200 in overall tax savings. And at the end of the day, what does it cost you to file a corporate return with payroll, with tax planning, with the miscellaneous filing fees here in the state of California? Let's say that on average, it costs you about $2 grand to file a corporate return, to maintain it, to run payroll, to file all of the necessary filing fees and the documents each year annually. Let's call it $2 grand. Well, I mean, if it's saving you $9,200 on $100,000 in net revenue, I think it makes sense financially. In fact, cut that number in half, drop it all the way down to 50 grand in overall net revenue. It's still going to save you roughly about $4,900 in overall income tax, plus or minus maybe a couple bucks, but about $4,900. That still saves you double what it's going to cost you to file as an S corporation return. What I'm trying to get at is that do not try to navigate the conversation of incorporating on your own. Just because your neighbor or your coworker or your family member or friend incorporated and they're receiving a benefit does not mean that you should go out to LegalZoom or to meet with your attorney and incorporate yourself just to receive the same benefit that this other person did. Everyone's tax return is unique and different in a lot of ways. So incorporating might have been right for them at this period of time, but incorporating for you might not be right, at least at this moment. It might not be right for you because of the investments that you have. If you're only an owner of rental investments and you don't have any property management income, you don't have any self-employed real estate income, what would be the point of incorporating if you only own rental properties, right? Rental income doesn't pay self-employment tax, and the only tax that a corporation like this would save you is self-employment tax. So this would not be for the rental property owners. This would be possibly for people who own rental properties who maybe have commission income from real estate management or real estate sales, or even if you have a little bit of both, long-term rentals and wholesale or rehabbing businesses. I have clients who do both. I have clients who flip property and make a lot of money on the short term, and then they also own long-term rental investments. These particular structures, this setup for them could potentially save tens of thousands of dollars on a year-to-year basis, and over a 5-10 year period, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax savings, which I also equate to wealth retention. I can't stress that enough, that through proper tax planning, you are able to achieve retention of wealth. And that to me is all that matters. To me, in business, doesn't matter how much you spend, doesn't matter how much you make, it all comes down to how much you get to keep. And I consider that to be retaining wealth. So through proper tax planning, you are achieving wealth retention. And that's all that matters. That is the main goal, 1000% goal of proper tax planning. So always remember that. Take control and to kind of flip that switch in your brain to not be afraid of tax planning. It's not like going to a dentist. I know that clients always tell me, they're like, listen, I don't know what I dislike more, going to see you or going to see my dentist. I say, whoa. Okay, first of all, I don't sit here and drill your teeth and tell you that you have cavities and that we got to bring you back next week for a root canal. That's not me. We do open heart surgery and dental work on a tax return. We tell your financial story to the government on a yearly basis. And if we tell that story efficiently enough, guess what? It's going to keep more money in your pocket. And so this is something that's very, very important for you to understand and not be afraid of. You need to sit down and do proper tax planning every year so that whatever you end up cutting as far as a check is concerned, or whatever you end up getting back as a refund, or hopefully you're kind of planning ahead enough to break even at the end of the year to maximize the money in your pocket and not overpay Uncle Sam. The goal at that point is to get you to pay an obligated amount of tax and not a penny more than your obligated amount. Because like I said earlier, everyone pays tax, but through proper planning, we can control the amount of tax that we pay on an annual basis. Now, what qualifies you for real estate professional status? Well, the government is very specific about what requirements need to be met, what boxes need to be checked off, T's crossed, I's dotted, so on and so forth. The 750-hour requirement happens to be one of the most common requirements that needs to be met, meaning that if you are checking that box on your return that says, I am a real estate professional, literally, there is a box on your return that you check that says real estate professional. When you check that box, the IRS assumes a couple things. They assume that you spend more than, or equal or more than 750 hours working with real property business, meaning that you spend a majority of your time managing property, flipping property, selling property, so on and so forth. You don't necessarily need to be licensed to be a real estate professional. I have many clients who own 20, 30 rental properties, and that's their sole business revenue stream. Well, how can you argue that they're not a real estate professional? They manage a pretty sizable portfolio. They have no other professional income. So at that point, a real estate professional election would need to be made or should be made. On top of the 750 hours, though, you need to understand that the government, on top of their own rules, they kind of throw a curveball at us in an audit scenario. And they say, okay, well, you might meet that 750 hours, but do you meet the 51 rule? And 51 rule is where 51% or more of your time and not or, but and 51% or more of your income is generated from real estate related activities. And once again, 51% or more of your time is spent working with real estate related business activities. So if you are a full-time accountant like myself, 51% or more of my time is spent preparing tax returns. Maybe 51% or more of my income comes from real estate activities, but 51% or more of my time is spent working as a tax professional. So I would have a very difficult time arguing a real estate professional status. I'm a licensed tax advisor. I have a full-blown W-2 job here. So even if my real estate income was greater than my tax preparation income, I don't think that I would qualify for a real estate professional election. In fact, I know I wouldn't personally. But at the end of the day, if you can meet those two requirements, 51% or more of your income is real estate related income, and 51% or more of your time is spent working with real estate related activities, boom, the election is yours to make. Do not just log into TurboTax and start clicking boxes, okay? Because when we talked about a highly audited form on an individual return, we did not mention what the highest audited election on a return is. So the 8829 form for in-home office and the Schedule C, those might have high audit risks from a form perspective. But when you are making elections on your return to accelerate depreciation, to put yourself under the safe harbor ruling, or to make yourself a real estate professional status, or to click that box and make yourself a real estate professional for tax purposes, understand that this election, this box that you check, has close to a 75+% chance of being audited on a year-to-year basis. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think this election has such a high risk for audit? Well, think about the benefits that you receive if you check that box. Essentially, any limit, it doesn't matter how much income you make. You could make $10 million in real estate. You could make $100,000 in real estate. It doesn't matter how much you make in real estate related income. If you check that box, there is no limit to the amount of real estate loss deductions that you will be allowed on your return. Meaning that if all these years you've been making over, let's say, $150,000 and you've seen limitations on your real estate related loss deductions or any other limits real estate related wise on your individual return, when you check that box, all of those limits go away. And essentially what you're telling the government is that I am special. I am one of the individuals that is able to make this election fully on my return because I meet this 51% rule or more, okay? So just make sure that before you check this box that you talk with your tax advisor about why or how you qualify to make this election. Last but not least, I want to squash some misconceptions about what has happened already. One, 1031 exchanges are still available, okay? They have not gone away. I know the Biden administration is talking about getting rid of the 1031 exchange. I don't think this is going to happen. I think they may start to phase this benefit out for high income earners. But at the end of the day, they would be squashing a billion-dollar industry, an industry that creates thousands and thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of revenue for the US government. So I highly doubt that this is going to go away completely. I think that they will start to phase out some of these benefits for high income earners. And I truly believe that kind of just along that same common discussion, I think that the Biden administration is really after the uber wealthy of the US. I think that that's what they're kind of fine tuning their tax code to those are the individuals that they want to go after. So I don't think that the 1031 exchange is going away. I think that there will be some alterations of it. At least I really hope I'm right. I hope that it doesn't go away because the 1031 exchange is very much one of the number or top 3 benefits built into the Internal Revenue Code, especially for us real estate investors. And essentially, some of these tax benefits that we receive on a year-to-year basis is one, it allows us to avoid depreciation recapture. That's the whole point, is to kick that can down the road until you kick the can, right? You don't want to pay tax on the capital gain. You don't want to pay tax on the recapture depreciation. So you kick that can down the road until you pass away. And the next of kin receives a property with a full stepped-up basis up to, I think, the $12 million estate exemption that is currently in play, which Biden is also trying to reduce overall. So once again, when we have the new tax code, Robert Hall and Associates, we're going to put together a whole revamped webinar series to bring you all of the current updated tax code changes for 2021. But nothing has changed Internal Revenue Code wise, okay, as far as Biden's tax code is concerned. This limits capital gain tax, obviously, because you're kicking that can down the road. Through a down leg exchange, when you go from $1 million to 500,000, you can access money to pay off a primary residence debt. You can access money to pay off credit card debt. You can access money to do whatever you like with it, right? Except you do pay income tax on whatever money you are accessing. That's called a down leg exchange. You can acquire more doors. You go from a $1 million one-door Burbank property into 15 doors elsewhere in the U.S. So you can expand your real estate reach. You can win, obviously, more doors equals more cash flow. And also on an up leg exchange, when you go from $500,000, let's say, to $1.5 million, which I've seen some clients do over the past year, you're actually adding value to the building, right? You're going from a $500,000 property valuation to $1.5 million. So you've got increased depreciation expense and also probably a much larger property with more rental cash flow. So as you can see, all of these benefits for the United States taxpayer, I don't see how this is possible. I don't see how it's possible for them to get rid of it completely. I think that they will start to alter it and change it a little bit, but I doubt that it is fully going away. And I really, really, really hope that I am correct in this assumption. All right. Just to once again show you that I'm not a one-man operation. We have been serving as a firm all 50 states for the past 50 years. 2021, we will be celebrating our 50-year anniversary. Quite an honor, quite a privilege it is for me to be able to bring this information to you on behalf of Robert Hall & Associates. We do service tax filings in all 50 states. So there is not a state that we cannot file an individual real estate or individual tax return or business tax return in. Each state has different legislation, different tax code, different city regulations. So if there are cities specifically that have changed their tax code, we will always independently research this. But it is almost impossible for anybody to know truly what the tax codes are in each county or each city across the U.S. But there is definitely a need for a research firm in that case, right? And we are very much a firm that if there are changes, we will look into that on behalf of our clients. We do offer free consultations, like I mentioned earlier in the presentation. If you would like to sign up for this free consultation, all you have to do is open up your smartphone or take out your smartphone, open up the camera, wave it over the QR code, or text Robert Hall to 72,000. Okay, Robert Hall to 72000. That automatically submits your name for the free consultation. It's not a lottery. Everybody gets this. And if anything, it's a second opinion of what's already been filed on your individual return. So if you've already filed for 2020, send us a copy of it. Sign up for the free consultation. Let us take a second opinion of it, and we'll tell you if there's anything that we would have changed or anything that you might have left on the table. And if we need to amend the tax return to get some more money back, we will absolutely do that. If you are showing large losses in 2020 because of the pandemic, we might even suggest for you to file what's called a 1045 carryback, which allows you to take losses in the year of 2020, carry it back to 2019 and 2018, possibly even 2017, to get money back from those previous years. It's a very unique part of the Internal Revenue Code, once again, called the 1045 carryback ruling. And so this is something that we can absolutely help you file. So as far as 1031 interest or specialty, Jay, I'm not really sure how to answer that. I don't think that it really matters who does the exchange from a tax perspective, as long as you are acquiring that property under the same name, same percent ownership, same amount of debt, so on and so forth. So I'm sorry, maybe I'm not understanding your specific question in detail, but it doesn't matter whether it's under an entity or under your personal name or even under a corporation, as long as you're acquiring the new property and meeting all of the rules of the 1031 exchange to be allowable and avoiding that failed exchange end result.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Oh, Jay, yeah. So sorry, Jay. So I am not a 1031 exchange specialist. We have referrals for 1031 exchange professionals. We do all income tax related filings. So individual, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, estates, trusts, basically anything that gets filed with the Internal Revenue Service income tax wise. But we do not specialize solely in 1031s. We do those. Here we have, like I said, referrals that do 1031 exchanges, but we are on the tax side of things. We file them on the individual and business tax returns.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again, Tony. We really appreciate all your expertise. And I encourage everyone to give you a call, give Robert Hall and Associates a ring. Can you share with us before you leave your contact information one more time, please?
Sure. Our phone number is 818-242-4888. And you can just Google Robert Hall and Associates. Like I said, we've been around for 50 years, so we're very well known here in the Southern California area and communities. And you can email, if you want to email in for a free consultation, you can always email my name, Tony Watson at roberthalltaxes.com, or you can reach directly out to our office at our phone number and we'll get you set up with that free consultation to talk with any one of our senior advisors.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Tony.
Thank you,
now,
Linda.
Folks, our next speaker is Sensei Gilliland with Black Belt Investors. And if you go to the lobby, you're going to go into his link, but we've actually asked him to join us here on this Zoom call because unfortunately, the way the other presentation was set up, you would have to receive credentials to join in. So we're waiting for him. Oh, there he is. Here is Sensei right here. We're so excited. One moment. Let me go ahead and bring him on, everyone.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sensei, we can hear you. Can you share your video, please?
Fantastic. I sure will. Okay. And thank you guys for hanging out with us this morning. It's much appreciated.
Matt, would you be able to help Sensei share his video? Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, so I got the video here, but I'm going to, what I want to do is show my screen.
Your voice a little bit low. If you want to turn up your volume.
Okay, no problem. What I'm asking for is I'd like to just show my screen versus the video.
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
I don't have a, okay, here it is. Never mind. I got it, found it. Okay, I think we're good.
And if you could just turn up the volume a little bit, that would be wonderful, Sensei. Thank you so much. And I will post in the other rooms that your presentation is here, and also provide the link for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, great. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, you ready to kick it off?
Yes, perfect. If you could just speak just a little bit more, please, higher.
I can tell you right now, I have my volume all the way up. And you know that I'm loud, Linda.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Sensei. All right, Take it away.
All right, guys. Welcome to Black Belt Investors, where you're going to be learning the techniques you need to succeed. And I'm so glad that you're here because we've got a lot of things to show you today through Realty411, but I am going to teach you how to build a real estate retirement plan. So if you're ready to get started, I am ready to get started. So let's go ahead and kick this off. All right. Now, there's a lot of reasons why people are nervous about investing in real estate, especially out-of-state real estate. And people come up with many excuses ranging from it's not the right time and I don't have the money, nor do I have the credit. I want to be able to see my properties and so on. I mean, I hear it all. Fear can be a paralyzing thing. It keeps many people from realizing their dreams and creating the life that they want. Fear can also keep people from dreaming because they're afraid to fail. Now, have you really nailed down the reasons of why you are fearful to invest in real estate? That's, of course, assuming that you are fearful, as I know many beginning investors understand the basics of risk to reward. The biggest question most is, where do I get the money to start investing in rental properties? Some of you sitting here today already have the cash you need to put to work. Some of you need to work a little harder and longer to get that money to work for you. But either way, it's fantastic. And others here might just not know how to move forward. Some just might need to find a little extra money. So here's 6 places where you can find the money to begin building a rental portfolio. So I'd like to briefly take a look at each one. We have retirement accounts. This is a long-term play which can build your nest. It can leave a legacy, it can give you passive income on your accounts. Using retirement savings accounts just makes sense, doesn't it? That's especially true when we see the issues with other assets you might be holding in these accounts. By rolling over your existing 401k or IRAs to self-directed plans, you can choose to put that money into real estate. I know that Karen Hall is going to be talking later on, and she's going to be speaking specifically about this, so you'll want to tune in. You don't have to pay a penalty for cashing out, and you still get the tax benefits of a retirement account. If you don't have one yet, this is a great way to invest from a maximum profit standpoint. Some of you may already have or own real estate or a business with equity existing. That could be a cash vault for launching your rental portfolio. You can cash out, refinance a home or other properties, get lines of secured credit, sell assets that aren't working, maybe roll them over, possibly maybe the assets have peaked, and trade them in. Either way, you can get the capital needed to start using towards other investments that's going to produce a better profit. Creative deal structuring. Now, you may not have the cash right now, or you have very little to put down. I'll tell you that you might find that you can do more than you think. There's rental property deals out there from just 50 grand. Others, you may be able to, put a small down payment on. And if you're willing to put in the effort, you can also get out there and find and negotiate creative deals. You can find seller financing, lease options, and even no money down deals. Here at Black Belt Investors, we have a full purchase options training camp that will teach you exactly how to structure deals just like that using 6 different real strategies. Now, loans and credit. Credit is far more plentiful today than you might think. And the great thing about this leverage in real estate is that your tenants pay it back for you, plus your profit. You can try the banks, credit unions, and mortgage brokers. However, there are many more aggressive lenders out there that includes online platforms like SoFi and Lending Club, credit line providers like Sprout, and even PayPal will loan out money. Some of these will give you $25,000 up to $250,000 in unsecured credit lines to use as you wish. Another quick tip is to look up your local unclaimed property website. That's a place where unclaimed money is, and you might have some money sitting around, from an old insurance policy, an escrow, utility bill, and so you might want to just go straight to your state and check that out and see if you can capitalize on some cash that never reached your bank account. Or you can simply just get out there and do what most people try to do and just make more money for themselves. In most cases, this is a really long detour. And even if you're a doctor or an attorney, it can be hard to save faster than inflation. One of the expectations, well, maybe not an expectation, but one exception I found is with real estate wholesaling and flipping, you can get out there and start generating your own income by wholesaling houses, which we do here at Black Belt Investors, fixing and flipping them like we do here at Black Belt Investors, because this is our cash machine that allows us to use that money to go buy long-term rental investments for passive income. Now, there's a will, there's a way. And we all know this proverb dates all the way back to the 1600s. I find those that apply this proverb will make it, but many just don't have the will, and they will fall to wanting and wishing, which is not a course of action. You don't need to have been born under some lucky star or an incredible wealth or with terrific contacts or have the best connections or even special skills. But what you do need to succeed in of your life goals is self-discipline. Unfortunately, most people give in to two worst enemies of success. They take the path of least resistance. In other words, they're lazy, and or they want immediate gratification. They don't consider the long-term consequences of the actions that they take today. You can achieve success in your life, but first, you got to understand and set personal goals. Secondly, know your business and your money goals. And thirdly, where do you want your overall happiness? I challenge you to be more disciplined in your life. With guidelines and with discipline, you can be on the right course of action and you can learn how to be more successful in everything that you do. Instead of wistfully envying others you think that are just luckier than you. A little self-discipline goes a long way. So I'm telling you right now, stop making excuses. Now, how can we create more wealth swiftly and sustainably? And how do we maximize our gains safely? These are two very, very important questions that you should be writing down right now because these need to be answered. It's vital to what you do in your real estate investing career, whether you're getting started or an advanced investor. How can we create more wealth swiftly and sustainably? And how do we maximize our gains safely? Well, before we go any further, if you don't know who I am and you're thinking, why should I listen to this guy speaking really fast? Well, I'm telling you, I'm trying to cram a 2-hour session into an hour. Black Belt Investors is a real estate education, training, and investment firm, which was originally founded back in 1995 by moi. Yes, that super handsome guy is me, Sensei Gilliland of Black Belt Investors. I've been on the cover of Real Estate Wealth magazine. I've been investing in real estate for 26 years. I've invested from coast to coast, from Florida to California to Hawaii and back. I live here in Southern California, and I'm still an investor and business owner today. And that's really gives me a position to help others now kind of replicate what I've done over the years so that they too can have a financial future to look forward to. Now, one thing that I love to do is teach. I love to get up in front of audiences or one-on-one teaching. And what you see here is a tour. I've been giving tours since the year 2002 to different locations across the states in emerging markets. And so we haven't had tours off for obvious reasons in 2020, but we plan on kicking off our next tour to Cleveland, Ohio, this coming early fall of 2021. So you want to make sure that you plug in to Black Belt Investors. All right. So we're all here to learn more about cash and wealth, right? Those are two things that I'd like a little bit more of, and I think you want more of as well. I don't think we can have too much of these two things. And once we get it, we certainly don't want to lose it. And that could feel a heck of a lot worse than ever having to experience having it at all. You are either here today to get started and really take a better leap towards increasing your income or wealth, or you already have some and want to know how to protect it and build on it. That's great. You already taking action by being here right now, and nothing happens without taking action. This is such an important and exciting time to be taking action. We are in the middle of some of the biggest changes this country and global economy has seen in over 100 years. And what we do over the next few weeks is really going to determine the direction of our financial health for the long time to come. I've personally found and believe that real estate is one of the best ways to do just that. So why real estate? It really offers a trifecta of benefits that is almost impossible to find anywhere else. It can simultaneously provide you income, capital gains, and security. And there's a lot of pretty nice tax benefits that come along with it as well. It's a vehicle for steadily growing real wealth while enjoying income every month and being confident that your nest egg is safe. Plus, you can enjoy paying less in taxes while you make more. So there are a lot of benefits to real estate, especially the rental property investing. I personally have and still engage in all types of real estate investing, from wholesaling to fix and flipping to private lending and various real estate businesses. But for most, rental properties are one of the best ways to achieve financial and lifestyle goals. just for the reasons listed that you see on the screen. Now, I think we've all heard this, right? 90% of millionaires made their money in real estate. Well, real estate is a powerful lifestyle and financial tool. And that's where the stats are put about these millionaires that have made tons and tons of money through real estate. Most of your Forbes billionaires list still have made their money in real estate, or they're now putting their money made from somewhere else into real estate to keep it safe and grow it. That applies to Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, Sam Zell, Jeff Bezos, Larry Ellison. The list goes on. So you're definitely on the right track by being here this morning. Now, one thing that I want to show you here is this graph. History has shown that real estate values tend to move more like this graph that you see on the screen. Back in 1915, you might have paid an average of $3,200 for a home, which is rent today, right? Now the average house is over $340,000 nationwide. And in California, the average house is a whopping $648,760. Insane, isn't it? Of course, you can't find anything for sale even that cheap in many parts of the country. So yes, real estate prices can fluctuate too. However, looking at the last 100 years, values have gone up. And I doubt any of you believe the average house prices will be back to $3,200 anytime soon, unless you're in Barstow. I'm kidding for those people in Barstow. Unlike the stock market, where you can totally be wiped out when prices go down. You can't lose if you wait for prices to keep growing. Remember that this is just bonus money. It's the extra gravy. It's the extra chocolate drizzle on your Frappuccino. Now, today's mortgage rate, as of the last time I looked, was March 11th, 2021, and rising rates shrink the number of borrowers who can save by refinancing. So mortgage rates have been on an upward journey for the past 4 weeks, and they continue into 3% range today, which is phenomenal. The average rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage has hit 3.05%, the highest it's been since July 2020. Now, it's no surprise that the higher rates are expected to tranquilize mortgage lending, especially for the homeowners who want to refinance, where they're already seeing this play out in the weekly numbers. Now, this time last year, the numbers of mortgage refinance applications were 43% higher. This is the fourth week out of that 5 refinance applications were down. And that's all according to the Mortgage Bankers Association weekly mortgage application surveys for the week ending in March 5th. So we're all at a very, very pivotal time for our finances and investments too. Love or hate politics is one of the biggest factors impacting the global economy and markets over the next year. We don't know exactly what the new presidency term will accomplish, but we do know under President Biden, some major changes to business taxes and money markets will happen. We do know the government is enhancing liquidity through stimulus packages. We can expect a higher inflation rate in 2021 for sure. What we can also expect is that the current window of opportunity could provide exactly what you need to restructure your portfolio or get it started. And by getting it started, you can also lock in some great gains. Specifically, we ought to see some great things for real estate ahead. And in combination with low interest rates, we can expect great things to happen, especially when it comes to mortgage payments and higher rents. What I'd like to propose as the best way to take advantage of this current opportunity to put my 2010 plan into action. Basically, that is to acquire at least 20 rental properties within over the next 10 years. And if you're already there, double it. So what if you had 20 properties right now, each throwing off $500 per month in passive income? That's $10,000 a month. That's $120,000 a year. That's $1.2 million over the next 10 years, all being paid by your renters. It's not Bill Gates money, but it's not a bad start. So taking a very modest rate of appreciation, if you buy and hold those rentals for the next 30 years, and they appreciate at just a measly 5% a year, each would go up from being worth $100,000 to $400,000. You can check out, a free compound interest calculator. Just Google MoneyChimp and play around with the numbers yourself. So 20 rentals times this amount, you would gain $8.6 million in net worth. That's not bad. What is better is doubling it for those that you already have the 20, right? But 8.6 million in net worth can really make us feel at ease. And what's better is that unlikely you'll ever need to spend all of that money, so we can pass it on to our children and grandchildren, if you like, or charity. So handle it well. Like my attorney says, you can pass that legacy on to your heirs so that they can quadruple it as well. And then they can live off the cash flow while they pursue what they're passionate about and not fall into a job. Or they can add to it by investing 20 more rentals of their own. So that's $120,000 per year and $8.6 million in net worth. And that's not even being aggressive in acquiring properties or buying rentals undervalued or making value add improvements. That isn't even really factoring in the net tax and the time and freedom benefits, such as passive income and investment income and versus earned income. I don't know how much you are worth, and I don't need to know, but those numbers should be pretty exciting for most of you listening today. And if you're not excited, I got to question why. But especially if you're given the trajectory of the other investments that you might have on top of these 20 properties. Now, there are millions of potential rental properties out there, right? Choosing the right ones make a big difference. And some properties just don't work as rentals. Even among those that do make a big difference, we always roll our properties over into other markets that perform better. So how do you pick the safest and most profitable properties in your portfolio? Well, this is where I'm investing now. Remote Rehabs, which is a service of Black Belt Investors, invests nationwide. I've done deals from Florida to Hawaii, and we have investors coming from Brooklyn and the Bay Area who are hungry for our deals. We're constantly monitoring and researching markets all over the U.S., looking for the ripest destinations for value and sustainable cash flow and wealth. We've been heavy in Phoenix area for over the last 2 decades. We've done Missouri, Texas, California. I mean, so many different states, as you can see on the screen. But we're really focused right now on the Cleveland, Ohio market and surrounding areas. We went in, got our team set up on the ground 9 years ago, really 10 years ago, but really strong 9 years ago, tested it out with my own money, and then opened up opportunities for investors just like you. And right now, Cleveland rocks and is far better returns and a lot more sustainability is offered in the Cleveland market. So we are focusing on Cleveland, Akron, Lorain, Elyria, and Warren, which is all about a 30 to 40 mile radius around Cleveland. One of the great things about Cleveland is growth. Cleveland has a healthcare hub with over 60 hospitals and biomedical industries, really becoming the nation's foremost authority when it comes to healthcare. It's the fastest growing healthcare economy in the U.S. and home to the world-renowned Cleveland Clinic. Forbes ranks Cleveland in the top 5 housing markets for 2021. Fox Business has ranked Cleveland as the second most affordable housing market in America this year. It's pretty darn amazing what's happening over there. Even the mayor dedication to inclusive growth and stakeholders investing in the city tech scene which now Cleveland is gearing up to compete against Silicon Valley and New York. Cleveland is really becoming a middle ground of destinations for medical and for tech. These two industries is just scratching the surface, really, to make Cleveland a giant once more. But as investors, we don't just rely on one or two industries for economics and stability. Cleveland has so much more to contribute, which I will save for a later discussion. But if we take a look here at the map, you can see that where that big tier drop lands, that is downtown Cleveland, which butt up right against Lake Erie. To the west is Lorain, which is about a 30-minute drive. And then we're right next door, 5 minutes away to Elyria. We're also in Akron, Ohio, and we are in Warren, Ohio. And these have all been proven to our investors very good investments with very low acquisition costs, starting in the $70,000 range. We are focused in strong blue-collar neighborhoods or better. We're also focused on the big D, which is desirability. Desirability to you, desirability to your tenant, and desirability to a future purchaser when you decide to sell. And that goes for the same with the affordability factor. Affordability is going to be the number one factor for every investor because we all have a limit to what we can spend. Now, some of the perks is this: 35% below peak value of 2006. Remember, 2006 was peak of the market, fell apart, and now we're still buying below the peak of the market of 2006. Up to 9% cap rates. Quick rentals, they only have a 3% vacancy rate in Cleveland. National average is right around 6.5%, and we're 3%. It's a prime time to buy and hold, collect passive income, collect the appreciation, and all at an affordable rate. So let's take a look at a property that we just recently rehabbed. A cute little house on the inner suburbs of Cleveland. This property was $77,000. Purchase price, that means turnkey. Yes, for the price of a Tesla, you can buy a house. And it is pulls in about $1,000 a month in rents. You have your taxes, insurance, vacancy and maintenance expense, and property management, which is discounted at 8%, not your normal 10%. That means this investor here is going to earn $7,381 per year in net income, or $615 a month. That translates to a 9.6% cap rate, or a cash on cash return. Where in the heck are you going to earn that? New York? Nope. San Francisco? Nope. San Diego? Nope. Texas, Florida? Not a chance, but you'll get it in Cleveland. All right, slides need to move. All right, so why should you invest in Cleveland? A lot of the reasons our investors are focused there, especially black-owned investors, is steady economic growth. When you have steady economic growth, you have jobs, demand for rentals and rental income. We have a low vacancy rate there because of jobs. Equity growth is happening because of the demand, mostly due to jobs. And it's affordable for investors, home buyers, and tenants. So what I'd like to do is introduce remote rehabs, the 100% hands-free, high-return way to effortlessly and confidently generate great cash flow in the best real estate markets that America has to offer. Remote rehabs is indisputably the easiest and most profitable solution for capitalizing on the current real estate market today, giving you the upper hand. How does this turnkey operation benefit you? We find it, we fix it, and rent it for you, and you collect all the profits. Now, remote rehabs was designed specifically to eliminate all the challenges so that you simply get to enjoy all the best rewards of real estate investing. So who needs remote rehabs, in my opinion? It's investors that need experience on their side. Investors that lack the time to do all the research and building teams and project management and all that stuff, because it is a full-time job. It's for investors that desire a higher rate of return of what they're currently earning in their bank account or IRA or retirement account or stocks. Investors that do not want to lift a hammer, but wants all the cash. Now, some of the benefits is we find the profitable deal for you. We provide all the research for you. We run the numbers for you. We rehab for you. We project manage for you. We get the property rented for you. And to me, we built the best pro team that works for you. We do all the legwork and you get all the profits. Leverage is awesome, is it not? We love leverage. Cash is king and leverage is awesome. So here's a cool little property that one of our investors purchased using leverage. And obviously you can see that we went in there and cleaned this property all up, made it all turnkey. Here's the numbers. It's an $85,000 purchase price. They only had to put $17,000 down, which is 20%. Gross rents are $1,000, pulls in a $12,000 a year. You got your expenses, and this person is earning 9.6% cap rate or 48% cash on cash return. Again, where are you going to earn 48% consistently, safely, and sustainably? Cleveland, Ohio. So what I'd like to do is go through my 2010 rental retirement plan. Are you ready for this? Cool. So here's what I want you to think. 2010, what does that mean? 20 houses over the next 10 years. Whoa, that's so much property. How am I going to get 20 properties over the next 10 years? I can barely get one. If there's a will, there's a way, and we can help you. Got it? Okay. So where you invest in 20 houses over the next 10 years, I'm only going to go through 5 houses, and each house is labeled A, B, C, D, E. And then you'll get the picture, okay? So let's say purchase price here is $55,000. We got a loan, $11,000 down. It pulls in $875 a month in gross income. But we flip to the green side. P&I is is principal and interest of $236 mortgage payment, $97 in taxes. Insurance is $38. Vacancy and maintenance is 5% each, so a total of 10% is $87. Property management is $70 a month. So your total monthly outlay is $528 a month. Total monthly outlay is $528 a month. Not bad. Now I can pay my cell phone bill and go out to eat if our president lets us. Okay. So now you take the 520 and minus it out of the 875. That means you have a net cash flow of $347. That's a 38% cash on cash. We go to property B. Same thing. Purchase price $70,000, $14,000 down. Gets a loan, pulls in $1,050 a month. You have all your expenses here, which is your principal and interest, taxes, insurance, vacancy maintenance, and property management. So your income here is $694, but you have to take $1,050 minus $694, and you end up with $356 in net cash flow. Again, 31% cash on cash return. Same thing with property.
Sensei, can you please share your screen one more time, please? For some reason, the screen stopped.
Oh boy. Okay. Let me go back to the controls here and share screen. And there we go. And just to let you know, Linda.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm getting someone's feedback as well, just to give you a FYI. Okay. All right. So now that you guys can see the screen, so I'll go through this once more just so that you understand it. This is property, the third property, property C. It's an $85,000 purchase price using a loan, $17,000 down, 20%. There's an income generated on this property because this is actually a duplex. Yes, you can get a duplex for $85,000. $1,500, $750 each side. You have your monthly expenses, your mortgage payment, principal and interest, $365. Taxes, $198. Insurance is $54 a month. Vacancy and maintenance, 10% of the gross rents is $150. Property management at 8% is $120. So you come out with a monthly expense of $887. You minus that out of the $1,500, and you have a $613 net cash flow per month, which is a 43% cash on cash return. Not bad. Then we go to our fourth property, and that is property D. If the slides will move. There we go. All right. So property D, This is a $60,000 purchase price, $12,000 down. Come on, $12,000 down. Most of you guys spend that on a new TV. Income, $950. You got all your expenses of a $627 a month. Now, minus that out, you're earning $343 in cash flow each and every month. That's a 34% cash on cash return. And then property E, which is a $110,000 purchase price. Again, this is another duplex. $22,000 down, $2,200 in gross income. You have your expenses here, which come out to be $1,180, and then you minus that out of your $2,200, and you have $1,020 net cash flow, and with a 57% cash on cash return. Okay, so that's 5 properties. Just imagine if you had 20, but let's take those 5 properties and add up the monthly cash flow. So you can see each and every property of the net cash flow comes out to $2,679. Not bad. Not enough to quit your job, but man, what a nice little supplement there to inject into your bank account, right? Now, I suggest instead of spending the money on material items like buying spinning rims for your Pinto, I would say do this. Take the monthly income you are receiving and then attack the mortgage principal starting with the first property loan. So let's do that. We've got our $2,679 in net cash flow. We have all 5 of our properties. We're going to take that net cash flow and we are going to attack Bank of America, because you know that when you get a loan, it's a 30-year term, right? We want to get rid of the banks. We want to build a nice, safe, secure nest egg. So we take all the extra principal, we pay down that loan of $44,000. By doing that, by applying the $2,679 each and every month to that Bank of America loan, you're going to pay off that property not in 30 years, but you will actually pay it off in 2 years, 4 months. Whoa. That's crazy, isn't it? You went from a 30-year loan to having it down and paid off in 2 years and 4 months. Now you own the property free and clear. It gives you a new total of $2,915 because we don't have property A's mortgage payment anymore. Now apply that principal mortgage to property B. So we see A is paid off. We're now going to take $2,900, go to Wells Fargo, and then pay off that $56,000 loan and kick Wells Fargo to the curb. By doing that, you now have both properties paid off within 4.5 years, bumping your income up to $3,200 per month. We'll do the same thing to property C. We will pay off that loan, that $72,000 loan. And now we have all 3 properties paid off in 7 years, 8 months. Our income now increases to almost $3,600 per month. And of course, we're going to do that to property D as well, getting rid of that $58,000 loan through the lender. And by applying the that's not even a word, extrable, but it sounds like it would be. By applying the extra principal there, you will have that property and all 4 properties paid off 8 years, 2 months, giving you a new total of $3,838. And last but not least, we go over to property E. We want to abolish that $88,000 loan amount. And so we apply the $3,800 each and every month to that lender. And now you have property E, which will be owned free and clear in 10.5 years, giving you a new total monthly income of $4,310 that you now get to put in your pocket. You have paid off 5 properties in 10.5 years. You now own these properties free and clear. You tell me, what would it feel like to own 5 properties free and clear using the leverage I just demonstrated to you? You would think more clearly. You would smile bigger. You'd have more options in life, right? Now, here's the results. Most people just stay on a 30-year mortgage making slightly more than the original $2,679. The other benefit is you cut the mortgage term in 2/3 of the time and you increased your income by 200%. You're now making $4,310 a month. You have rent increases, tax sheltering, appreciation, and money in the bank. And this ingredients that I'm demonstrating on the screen are your wealth builders. You have to have each and every one of these to increase your wealth. If you remove one of these components, then it's just making money for you, but it's not building wealth. Now, if we take the total value of the 5 properties and we add them up, the total value is $380,000. You know, that's the average national average of one house, and that's half of Southern California. Now, your initial investment on that would be $76,000, 20% down of that $380,000. So it takes $76,000 to buy those 5 properties. Appreciation equals the quickest path to wealth. Remember that. Now, using the national average of appreciation of 6% equity built in the first year is $22,800. We take 380, multiply it by 6%, is $22,800. So you made that. It's kind of like phantom money. In the background, you don't really have to do anything but buy and hold. So now you take that and you add it to 380, and your value is at $402,800. In 5 years, it becomes $508,000. In 10 years, it becomes $680,000. 20 years, it becomes $1.2 million plus, just with those 5 little properties that I just demonstrated you. And it only takes 77 grand to do that. Now, the 2010 plan deposits cash into your pocket every month and creates wealth at the same time. But what if you own 20 rentals using the 2010 plan? Well, if we took 380 and we bought similar properties, multiplied by 4, that means you're now at a value of $1.5 million. That's 20 properties. But if you held these properties over the next 15 years, your value through appreciation alone becomes $3.6 million. See what we did here? Taking the current value of 1.5, multiplying by 6%, appreciation rate year over year for 15 years, you've gained $2.122 million in equity through appreciation plus equity buildup by loan principal paydown, giving you a value of $3,642,768 in real estate equity. Now, we take that rental income of $51,000, multiply it so that we have 20 properties. You are now at an income of $206,880, or $17,240 monthly cash flow. Can you live off of $17,000 a month? I bet you could. How would that make you feel knowing that your tenants paid the mortgages, paid off your loans, and depositing over $17,000 a month into your bank account? How can you not afford to start? There's top 6 benefits of the 2010 plan. First off, number 6, all properties are paid off in 2/3 of the time of your mortgage of 30 years, giving you an annual income of $206,000, which includes a 2% annual increase over the next 15 years. You own 20 properties free and clear. Oh my God. You know how Dave Ramsey says, they have everybody shout out that they're debt free? You can be shouting out, I own 20 properties free and clear. The project value of 20 properties over the 15-year becomes $3,642,000. And then you have options in life. You're approaching retirement. Maybe you're already in retirement. You can give money away to charity. You can put your kids or grandkids through college. You can pay for a wedding. You can, instead of going to, Disneyland, heck, go visit all the Disneylands across the world because you can. But the number one benefit here is financial security. Financial security. That's what we're all after, right? Is financial security. But you got to start. And you got to start your plan today. And if you already have a few properties and you haven't been active in accumulating more, then pick up the ball and start running. Here's what I want you to do. If you want my help, I need you to schedule a consultation with Black Belt Investors through Black Belt Investors. You can go to blackbeltinvestors.com, schedule a consultation. 2, invest in 1 or more properties per year. Now, some of you say, I can do more than that. Great, do it. Some of you say, I can't do 1 a year, but I can do maybe 1 every 3 years. Do it. Whatever it takes, get it done. These numbers don't lie. And then number 3, use the cash flow to attack the mortgage principal. These properties must be affordable, cash flowing, desirable, appreciating, and tax advantageous. Just like this one right here. $72,000 purchase on a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Turnkey. Taxes, $1,700. Insurance, $480. Repairs, maintenance, $540 each. Property management at 8%, $864 a month or a year. Your net income is $6,626. That's just a little over $500 a month. Cap rate 9.2%. Pretty darn good. In a safe and sustainable neighborhood, in an affordable market, can't go wrong. Now, if you're a reader, I've got a nice, easy read. And you might want to go visit remoterehabs.com so that you can go download my ebook. It's a new and expanded, updated version from the previous one. So write that down, remoterehabs.com. Now, in conclusion, here's a few suggestions I have for you. Number 1, you must get educated. Education will help you make a better educated decision when it comes to investing. You don't need to know everything about real estate. I don't know everything about real estate, but you do need to have a good foundation in order to make the right questions so that you can get the correct answers so you can proceed in moving forward with your property purchasing. Now, best always to get an educator, coach, consultant to help you along. So I want you to go to blackbeltinvestors.com or go to remoterehabs.com and schedule your one-time free 30-minute strategy session. Here, I want you to come and lay everything out on the table. Here's what I make. Here's what I do for a living. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm struggling with. Here's where I'd like to be in the future. And let us put the pieces of the puzzle together for you. Okay? Then we can formulate a plan, and you can take that plan and start putting into action by buying 1 house per year so that you get on the path to financial security. Now, if you'd like to see some of these properties, since we're not having tours until fall of 2021, anytime between now and then, you are more than welcome to go out, and I will hook you up with one of my project managers that can tour you around to a couple different projects that we're working on. But if you want to join groups like this, we sell out every single tour. We fill up one large commercial bus, and we do everything from learning about our power team, your title and escrow and property management and insurance. Everybody's going to be there to answer your questions. We're going to learn about the downtown area. We're going to learn about the inner suburbs. We're going to learn about pockets that we don't buy in, and then markets, little micro markets that we do purchase in. It's going to be a fun exciting educational venture. So schedule that on your calendar for fall 2021. You can always find information on our events page at blackbeltinvestors.now. So I want to thank Realty411 for having me on today. I want to thank you for joining us online and to learn more about, about real estate investing, whether you want to wholesale, fix and flip, creative financing, or turnkey investments, private money lending. Please reach out to us at 951-280-1900. And since you're online right now, you might as well just go to blackbeltinvestors.com right now, where you can learn about all the things that I just mentioned. Also, you'll want to subscribe, so that way you'll see deals coming across your email of things that are happening in the different markets that we're in. And don't forget to claim your free strategy session so we can help you raise the bar. Once again, I'm Sensei Gilliland of Black Belt Investors. I'm here to help you master real estate investing. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Realty411.
Great. Thank you so much, Sensei. What an incredible presentation. And I would encourage everyone not only to sign up for Sensei's ebook and offerings, but to consider joining him on his property tour. I've had the pleasure of attending several of his property tours in person, and they were amazing, very educational, not salesy at all, no pressure. It's totally education, information, and inspiration, because honestly, folks, sometimes we need to get inspired to take action, especially if you're new to investing. Real estate can be scary, but that's why we're here and Sensei is here. We want to help you. We want to answer your questions. We want to be there for when you're seeking out that investment property. And I can assure you that Sensei and I have a lot of experience in real estate. We've both invested out of state for many, many years. And, Sensei knows what to look out for, because once you've had experience investing in multiple states, your awareness really grows and your expertise and knowledge really expands. It's not like investing in your own backyard, and it's not like owning a property around the corner from you. It's a very different strategy for investing out of state. Wouldn't you agree with that, Sensei?
Oh, I would say it's not only different, but it's more profitable and it makes better number sense. I mean, I would assume a lot of you here are located in a primary market like Florida, Texas, Arizona, Vegas, California. And gosh, what is it costing you today? And I say cost, not profit. What is it costing you today to go purchase a property in your own neighborhood? And what type of returns are you getting? For that same price, that money that's going to cost you for that property in your neighborhood, you can go buy your 20 properties and get on that 2010 plan. So yeah, it's definitely a different feel and strategy. But can you imagine if Warren Buffett or Trump or any of these guys just invested in their own backyard? No. They invest where the numbers make sense. And you don't want to do it on your own. You want to make sure that you have a support system. Every championship team has a support system, a coach, a consultant, training, everything. And that's why they become champions. And if you want to be a champ in real estate, then you have to follow Realty411. You have to follow Black Belt Investors. You have to get the advice of the other speakers that are coming up here. And I would also leave you with this one last thing. You must research whoever you're going to consult with. Okay, whoever's going to help you build riches themselves with you, then you need to research it, because they have to have it themselves. That's very important. Now, Linda, I'm going to turn it back over to you, because as I told you, my grandmother's in the hospital. I'm going to go visit her. And then right after that, I'm going skydiving.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm taking my 2 kids skydiving for their birthday. I'm just kind of deciding whether I should give them a parachute or not, but we're going to go skydiving.
That's wild, Sensei. Oh my goodness. Well, prayers to your grandmother.
Thank
I
you.
know that she's in the hospital, and we encourage everyone out there to please keep Sensei's grandmother in your prayers. Um, she's not doing well right now, and we really appreciate your time joining us, Sensei. I was nervous that perhaps you weren't going to be able to make it due to the illness of your grandmother, and we just really appreciate you joining us today. It means a lot. So
Thank
thank
you for
you.
that. Hey guys, thank you for joining me. Get out there. Don't just take this knowledge and put it in your back pocket and walk away. Take that knowledge out and get out there and start doing something. God bless you all.
Thank you. Wonderful, everyone. Well, everything's going so well. Does anybody have any questions? Is there anything that we can help you with, or we can answer for you today? Oh, that's nice. Barbara Vera says, God bless you, Sensei. So that was really nice. So we're going to be joined in soon by Eric with Universal Commercial Capital, as well as Milica from Universal Commercial Capital. We're waiting for them to join us right now. So I would encourage people to ask questions. Is there anything that we can help you with? Sensei is still here on the line. He's actually, are you going to be leaving now, Sensei? I think Sensei's leaving now. Would you mind? Okay, Sensei's still here. Wonderful.
All right. So I'm waiting to be picked up.
Okay.
So I've got a few minutes. If you guys have some questions about wholesaling, fixing, flip, rental properties, land trust, shoot, I'm ready.
Wonderful. Someone did want to find you on LinkedIn, and they asked, what's the best way to find you on LinkedIn? Jay Miller would like to connect with you.
Yeah, Jay, go ahead and go to blackbeltinvestors.com. Black Belt Investors. That's my handle, Black Belt Investors on LinkedIn. But if you go to blackbeltinvestors.com, I have all my social links up there.
Let me put that on the chat there, blackbeltinvestors.com. Now, does anyone have any questions about rehabbing, remote rehabbing, fixing and flipping? I do have a question, Sensei. I know that right now you're really focused on Cleveland. Is there any other locations that you're going to be adding after the Cleveland market, or do you want to specifically stay in that market because you love that market so much and believe in it so much?
No, I will stay in the market, but I will always move over to another market that's undervalued and emerging. And that's what I've done over the years. I started my very first fix and flip in Florida, Fort Myers, Florida, back in 1995. I did a lot of deals there, moved over to Alabama and Texas, got over to New Mexico, to Arizona, made enough money to start buying properties here in California. And then we started investing in different markets across the states. And what's really cool is that I've been able to forecast markets, and that's why a lot of people bring me on their podcasts is forecasting purposes. But I've been able to forecast markets of getting into markets where people turn their nose up and say, why would you go there? And the next thing you know, a few years later, it becomes the number one market. In fact, you've been able to witness that, Linda, because I've been with you for over a decade now. And in your magazine, back, I want to say maybe 2008, 2009, I was advertising Phoenix. And everybody's like, what in the heck are you doing in Phoenix when everybody is running out of Phoenix? Well, I'll tell you why. Because these home builders that were purchasing or that were building properties and selling them for $200,000 and $300,000, I was able to pick up between $28,000 and $50,000 per property. And where do you think they are today? Well above $300,000. Even though the real estate market dropped heavily in Phoenix, Los Angeles, or just say California, Las Vegas, Texas, and Florida, even though it dropped quickly, it also rebounded the fastest because those 5 states are known as our diamond states. That means historically they have proven to do extremely well in real estate, whether on the up and down, and they always rebound faster. And then if you take a look during our Great Recession, those states fell apart the fastest and the hardest, and those states also came back the strongest and the quickest. And so we were able to do that. Now, once the hedge fund buyers came into Phoenix and started buying up all the properties, thinning out the inventory, well, we moved over, still worked in Phoenix, but moved over to Indianapolis and Kansas City. Now, I was in Kansas City since 2004, but we hit it hard in 2010 and 11, including Indianapolis, thinking that once the hedge fund buyers exhaust their funds in these markets of California, Las Vegas, and Phoenix, and they reach a certain cap, they're going to go over to a secondary market that allows them to buy at that affordability rate where it's safe and sustainable. And you know what? My hunch was correct. They moved over into Indianapolis and Kansas City. So those properties that were buying at 20 grand, you know, they started bringing the values up through appreciation due to the demand of sales through the hedge fund buyers. And once they made their mark in those 2 Midwestern states, I had moved over into Cleveland, Ohio, thinking that that's where they're going to go next. And you know what they did? They moved over there just a few years ago, started buying things up. So we've done very well. To answer your question, I will not always be pushing Cleveland as hard as I'm doing it now, because there will be a time where the affordability goes away. And so we'll move into another undervalued market that allows that affordability to where we can earn double digits in cash flow, double digits in appreciation, and have a very affordable acquisition cost. So where am I looking now? There's a couple of other Midwest states that I'm testing out right now, which I won't give away just yet until I got it all figured out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Sensei, for everything. We do have Melitza on the line here with Universal Commercial Capital. If she can unmute herself and start the video, that would be amazing. And I want to thank Sensei for his time with us today, and encourage everyone to visit blackbeltinvestors.com and join me in for that incredible tour to Cleveland. I'm excited about it. I may even go myself. I've been to Cleveland before once. Beautiful, beautiful city. And it's just lovely, really nice. So I would encourage everyone to join in on that. Now, next we have Universal Commercial Capital. Eric Tran is here with us. He is the CEO. One moment. Give me 1 second. Eric, can you hear me?
I can hear clearly.
Wonderful. Can you share your video, please? And also Melitza.
Okay, I am.
Hi.
Are you able to show your video, Eric and Melitza?
Can you see me?
No, I cannot. I cannot see your video.
Well, I just turned it on.
Okay. There we go. I just put the security on. There we go. Hi, Eric. How are you? Nice to see you.
You can see me and hear me clearly, right?
Yes, perfect. Melitza, are you able to join us?
Well, I can see myself. Let me try it again.
Okay. We can hear you perfectly, by the way. Yes, we can see you. How lovely. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, everyone, we all know how important private capital is for your investment deals. In fact, the finance is the most important aspect of any real estate transaction. Without the funding, there is no deal. And that's why we brought in Universal Commercial Capital. They're a private lender that can help investors throughout the United States, helping them with close their deals, whether they need, short-term lending or construction financing, they're able to do it. And today we have Eric Tran, who is the CEO of Universal Commercial Capital. Eric, can you tell us a little bit about your company and how it started, and just, a little bit about Universal Commercial Capital for our viewers?
Okay, thanks, Linda. Universal Commercial Capital was started 28 years ago in California. And in the beginning, we concentrated mainly on regular loan, conventional loan, such as Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA loans. About 10 years ago, we start getting into private lending, which is we provide financing for fix and flipper, for people who want to buy property to rent out. We also get involved with like single family homes, ground up construction. So in a sense, starting from 10 years ago, we are more or less in a private lending space, providing financing to like real estate investors throughout the US. So that's who we are. Back to you, Linda.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Eric. Next question for Melissa Christie. And the question is, what are some of the funding programs that Universal Commercial Capital specializes in?
Well, at Universal Commercial Capital, we do hard money loans, fix and flip loans, as Eric mentioned, constructions, also commercial bridge, and conventional loans.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Eric, how is the financial market doing right now for the fix and flip professional? What are you seeing in the marketplace?
Okay, overall, the marketplace is very hot right now. I remember a year when we first had the COVID pandemic, and everyone was like, we're gonna go into a recession, collapse. Surprisingly, the market never wavered, and every time the situation with COVID improved, the market gets hotter, and it is very hot right now. Hot market, which would help a lot with the resale market for the fix and flipper. However, on the other hand, with the hot market, then there is not much activity in California for fix and flipper because the price is so high, the margin is not there. But we are very busy with other states, Texas, Midwest states on the East Coast, and I see the movement into like inner city properties, buy it real cheap, rehab it, and resell it at a very reasonable price for first-time home buyer. Inner city, I mean inner city in Missouri, Indiana, and Chicago. So that's what I see. Things are slowing down in California due to a sky-high price, of real estate. But like in other states, things is picking up strongly, and we start moving into inner city properties. That's what I see presently. Overall, the market is very good for fix and flipper right now. Back to you, Linda.
It certainly is. I know in our market, it's appreciated about 30% in just a year and a half. It's amazing. I mean, the appreciation that we're seeing right now, particularly in California, is very, very strong. A lot of demand. Now, Melissa, how can investors get involved? Can you tell us how they can reach out to Universal Commercial Capital, please?
Well, we are very open to discuss and to talk with everyone about their loan scenarios. They can find us on our main website, universalcommercialcapital.com. Also, they can find us on social networks. We are present on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and also we are present on Bigger Pockets platform, which is an amazing place for everyone in real estate. You can find there our profile, Universal Commercial Capital, or you can find myself, Milica Krstic. Also, I am present there, so be open and do not hesitate to contact us.
Wonderful. We did put the website URL in the chat for everyone. Universal Commercial Capital. Eric, now we mentioned that you lend in different states. Is there any particular states that you're seeing a lot of activity right now? You mentioned the Midwest and Texas, but of course you do still lend in California as well, correct?
Right. So I think the activity in other states right now, Colorado,
yes,
Chicago, Florida, always active, always busy, always strong because Florida has international investors from other countries coming in. Texas is very active with ground up construction. People buy like 4 or 5 lots and build 1, 2, 3, 4 houses and resell it. So that's what I see. California, we are looking at more of the bridge loan for big commercial loan, like retail, office building, apartment building in transition, need to be stabilized. So California is right now very busy with that kind of properties, big commercial property, big loan. Once again, like I said before, not much fix and flip activity in California right now. There is still, if you are experienced seasoned investor, you have a right connection, you can still find deals, which you can make some nice profits, but not as busy as other states. Back to you, Linda.
Wonderful. And I noticed that not only do you lend in single family homes, but you mentioned that you also lend in commercial properties as well. So we want to make that clear that you lend on all types of different properties.
Right. Actually, we are very active in the commercial properties. We call it like small balance commercial property. Small balance means loan amount from 1 million to 8 million. That is our sweet spot that we can approve and fund real quick. And with the COVID pandemic and all the big banks pulling away from commercial lending, we are getting busier and busier every day because a lot of like good asset, good borrower, but the bank just say, we just stop right now, no matter what. So that's when we come in and fill in the blank.
Wonderful. Now, Melita, what type of, who is your ideal borrower? Let's talk about your clients. We know they're investors, but as we know, investors vary widely. Who is your ideal borrower? Do they need to have a certain credit score or maybe some experience?
Well, all investors are welcome as long as their property is income producing or in a good place or in a good area, because that is very important for investment. So you can have a good property, but the area cannot be always good, and that's where we step in. We do advise people. We also do our research, and we're there to help everyone who wants to invest. When it comes to credit score, it depends. It depends on the type of program that they are looking for. For example, when it comes to hard money loans, it doesn't have many requirements, and it's only based on collateral. We are looking at the property.
Wonderful, wonderful.
May I add something in here in your questions? Okay, Milita talked about our regular customer, but like recently we have a new division, a special division to cater to the type of investor that all the lender wouldn't work with them. Reason, in experience, brand new investor, first time getting into the market. You know, all lenders out there, they are looking for track record, your experiences. If you don't have experiences, normally it's a no. And we start catering to that type of client. The second kind of client that we start catering to is the type with like not a lot of cash on hand. Okay, lender approve your loan, put in 15-20%. Some investor, they only have 5 or 10%. One scenario. Another scenario is some investor want a higher leverage, so they can do volume. They can do volume. So that's where we step in. Because beside on the lending side, we also have an equity side. You know, okay, on the lending side, that's how much you need to put down to get into the property. And if the investor don't have enough, we can always come in with them as an equity partner, and we can work out a profit sharing scheme, you know, deal by deal.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so that is our niche, you know, our niche. But on the lending side, I would say we're the same as any other lenders out there on the lending guidelines. And then when we realize if we're the same, we have to create something different for our client, because okay, everyone need you to put down 15-20%. What is a niche? So we say if you don't have 15%, we do. We can come in with you as a partner too, besides being a lender. So we are wearing two hats in a sense. You know what I mean? We are wearing two hats in a sense. And that is what we want to promote these days. And I have clients say, oh, I need you to provide me with additional funding. I asked him, why? You don't have enough money? He said, no, because I want to build up the volume. You know, if I can save my cash, I can buy another one and do it. So that's what we are also doing right now, beside the cookie cutter loan program. 15% down, 100% rehab financing, but not more than 75% ARV. We can and we will come in as an equity partner if our client have that need. Back to you, Linda. Mm-hmm.
Wow, Eric, that is incredible. I mean, the fact that UCC can come in as a capital partner in case it's needed with investors, that truly is amazing. I've been working in this field for 14 years doing Realty411, and there's not too many private lenders that would take on that that partnership with investors. But this is truly unique that UCC is doing. So I would encourage people, if you have a deal, a scenario that you want to pass by Eric, Melissa, I would encourage you to do so. I also like the fact that, Eric, you mentioned how important it is to invest in a good area. And I like the fact that you can help people to see if that area is safe for them to invest in or not. I really like that you mentioned that as well.
Right.
Because so that can help investors be another set of eyes and ears for them.
Right. You know, before we underwrite the loan, we always want a crime score, a school district score. So we have a good idea of the neighborhood of everything.
Yeah.
Because beside the profit you make, another important thing is people should keep in mind is liquidity. How fast can you sell? If it's a good school district, if it's a safe area, for sure you want to sell it much faster than an area, the neighborhood with a higher crime score or a lower school district score. And then we can always advise on such things.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Let me mute a few people here. If you can mute yourself when you join us, that would be fantastic, folks, for the courtesy of the speakers. And great information so far, Eric. And I love the fact that UCC can provide another set of eyes and ears for your deals. So this is something that you want to run by professionals, folks. If you have a deal, run it by them to make sure that it's going to work out in pencil. You know, they could be your partner not only with the financing, but also in helping you decide if this is a good property for your portfolio or not. So that's something very important. Now, Eric, Melissa, is there anything else that you would like to add today or share with our listeners?
Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
Sorry for interrupting. Well, I would like to invite everyone to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube also, because we are sharing our knowledge without borders and with everyone. We have very good and educational videos on our YouTube channel. Also, we are sharing tips for everyone in real estate on our Instagram profiles, our personal Instagram profiles, and also on company profile. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for any kind of information that you need. You can contact us on our number or on our email addresses. We are very fast in answering. And I would like just to add that our answer comes very fast, even when we have to say no to someone. But we can provide an answer in 24 to 48 hours. So I would like to encourage everyone to contact us and to follow UCC.
Wonderful. Thank you, Melissa. Since we have a little time, Eric, I wanted to run a deal by you that I found in my area. I found a wonderful little house that, of course, needs rehabs. It's a fix and flip opportunity. It's listed for $300,000 right here in Lompoc, 25 minutes away from me, Santa Barbara County. It's a good numbers because I have property in that area. But I was thinking, Eric, what if I bought, because the lot is huge. So to add value, I thought, what if I purchased it, not only rehabbed it, but also added an ADU in the back to make it, because the lot is R2.
Right.
So I was thinking, you know, add an ADU in the back to force that appreciation, and that $300,000 property, which, you know, maybe I could buy it for $250,000, $275,000 cash. You never know. Once I put the ADU for $125,000, $130,000, you know, maybe we could sell that property for $597,000, $550,000, close to $600,000, because now it's a two housing property. You know, it has two structures and two homes. So would you lend on something like that where I want to add an ADU to a property?
Of course, you know, and I'm glad you brought that scenario up, because lately we've been receiving a lot of loan requests, not only for rehab, but for ADU. Rehab only, people say I have enough money to change the carpet, to put in a new cabinet, but I want to put one extra unit. That's where I need additional money, and very glad to come in and provide financing for that ADU unit.
Yes, wonderful. Yes, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm seeing a lot of opportunities with ADUs,
Mhm.
and that's why instantly when I saw this property, I said, oh, this would be an amazing property to add an ADU because the lot is large.
Mhm.
It's already an R2 area. So that was, my thinking. So I'm so glad that you told me this, and I definitely will be looking into this further for purchasing myself. I mean, I really was interested in this property. Now, I would like to encourage everyone to contact Eric and Melissa at Universal Commercial Capital. Their phone number, 1-888-334-9039. Once again, folks, 1-888-334-9039. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Eric, Melissa? We do have some time, and I would love to give you this opportunity to educate our viewers more.
I would like to encourage our audience to call us, discuss their deal with us more often. But what I see is the good deal is a deal you spend time talking to your lender and to us lender too. What is a good deal? The good deal is we have time discussing the detail, the deal with our client 4, 5, 6 times. So feel free to call us. You don't have to do the loan with us, but you will have some more knowledge, some advice, free of course, and on our side, we know more what happening on the market ourselves too. So I would encourage people to call us, chat with us, let us know what deal you are working on. We can give our input, our insight as an advisor only, not as a lender. And then once again, like I say, the good deal is a deal you spend time talking to your lender. Beside what is your rate, what is your fee, what is your LTV, LTC. Because those information is more or less generic, standard with all lenders. California, remember I said, fix and flip slowing down, but people start getting into ADU. And it's easier with ADU instead of straightforward fix and flip deal. Because California, the rental is so high. So everyone gonna switch to ADU right now. So fix and flip slow down, but we are getting busier on the ADU space. So back to what I said, call us, email us, talk to us. Keep the communication open. You have one more source, one more channel of information, advice for your deal, and it only helps. I think so.
Absolutely. Eric, we do have a question from RC, and they would like to know, what is the latest 30-year conventional rate right now? And do you have any points for real estate investors when purchasing properties through your funding?
Okay, the rate for conventional loan right now, I would say regular conventional loan around 2.75 to 3%. But that's not the space that we are active on. We have a division for it, but we're not active on that space. And I'm not sure on the question about the point answer to our funding. I'm not exactly sure what is that
what points? Is there any points that are needed to be paid when acquiring your financing?
Normally the point is from 1 to 2 points. It depends on the loan amount. On the fixed tip, yeah. And if the question is, they mean the point we will charge. Normally we charge 1 to 2 points on the loan amount for each loan.